All right, here we go with the top 20 games of the generation.
Get
our top 20 games of the generation.
Please
Sure, it's not
be
the top 20
excited.
games of our generation.
My generation.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
All right, number 20. Batman Arkham Asylum.
What?
Wait, wasn't Batman Arkham City?
Arkham City was lower, yeah.
Well,
I guess there is a case to be
So
made for
Daniel Dawkins voted for this, and
Mhm.
he put it quite nicely on my bit of paper. He says, Asylum's claustrophobia, focus, and amazing combat system made this a far more memorable game than its sprawling, oftenly daunting sequel. 2 words, Little Bruce.
that. Yeah. This was voted on by Schilling, Dawkins, JJ.
Among those.
Yeah, among
JJ is
That's
James
not-
Jarvis.
Oh, I thought it was JJ the jet plane of children's cartoon fame.
You hadn't introduced him, so I thought maybe.
I also voted for this pretty highly. What he says is right. The first time round, like that game, when you play it, it is something special. Like it's contained in the way. Obviously, Arkham City is open world, so you kind of the detail is there, but it's just spread over so much more landmass, and there's scope for missing entire segments of the game and not knowing like, oh, there's this cool link back to this other part of the DC universe. Whereas with Arkham Asylum, since it's a guided experience, you get to see so much more. You see everything, and it's so densely packed. I think this is a game that anyone can enjoy, like whether you're a Batman fan or not. You can pick it up and play it, and you can enjoy it. Whereas Arkham City rewards Batman fans more, as in you need to go looking for it, and the details are so subtle. And yeah,
They tackle Batman with an arrogance and Nintendo-esque imagination, and it's consistent. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it was, obviously it could contain those qualities more easily inside the linear structure. It wasn't totally linear, was it? It was just a smaller scope.
Yeah, it was Metroidvania basically.
Yeah.
You go back and forth between certain areas and that kind of thing.
The most memorable thing for me was those breakdown scenes, the scarecrow scenes where
Which were nicked by subsequent games that came out afterwards, right?
yeah, I'm sure.
And the young Bruce moment that
That was actually
that was
quite.
mentioned earlier was quite good.
Ooh, Jesus, this is creepy. Like, I loved it.
Was JJ the Jet playing a different character from Jimbo the Jet Set?
Yeah,
They're totally different.
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
So I've got on what to add. The Scarecrow stuff was
So
good.
yeah, number 20. I'm glad to see Batman.
Yeah, well
Another
done,
Batman.
Batman.
That's 2 Batman titles in the.
Both
in
of
the-
them better than-
Can I just say before we go down this list, I'm pretty damn happy with this list.
It's a really good
I'm
list.
the only one who knows
so
the
far.
winners, and I've been through it, and every single game was like, I need to replay that.
Right,
I would go down this top 20 and replay all of these games before they become old hat.
Yeah.
Wow,
It's just been a good generation in general. You think? I mean, there's stuff that I enjoyed, like the Saboteur and Mafia 2, which aren't even anywhere near the list. And it's like
games-
just even out with the list, there's some great stuff.
Yeah.
games are really unique in that they're always improving, in that people are always finding out better ways of getting things more efficient and doing things better. That it's the only medium that's continuously improving, and this generation of games was clearly the best. I know you can be nostalgic about SNES games
Yeah.
and Atari 2600, but this was clearly, without a doubt, the best generation of games.
Yeah. So yeah, congratulations to Rocksteady for having 2 games in our.
Both better than
games
Street
of
Fighter 4,
generation.
apparently.
Let's not go back to that. Number 19. This is a particular favourite for Andy, as it is for all of us. We enjoy it, but Andy's the fanatic here. Left 4 Dead.
And say I'm a fanatic. I love Left 4 Dead. I mean, obviously, loads of other people in the CVG team globally obviously are, if it's been voted that highly. It's a bit like Counter-Strike for me. If I went and played Left 4 Dead for 20 minutes now, I wouldn't stop playing it for the best part of a month. I'd just get hooked again. It's what Valve has done for co-op there, what they did for Deathmatch with Counter-Strike. It's still got a huge community. I absolutely adore it. I mean, it's got so many innovations, like the AI director, changing up the game and constantly, challenging the players based on their style. The characters are, distinctive and charming in a zombie dead sort of way. You know, I love the boomer. I might even make the boomer noise my ringtone.
That's the thing. There aren't many games where the enemies are almost more popular than the heroes. Do you know what I
the
mean?
versus
Like,
mode in it is just stupidly enjoyable,
Yeah.
entertaining. It
That
really,
game came out
really
of
is.
nowhere as well, didn't it? Like it was like a surprise kind of game, I think.
I can't even really remember the announce of the first
Yeah.
one, which is odd.
It was like because it came
Oh no,
from
that's right. Because it was a mod. It was was it
Turtle Rock Studios who done
I don't know if they
Condition
were the
Zero.
original because there was a few studios who worked on it. Turtle Rock work. It was basically like you know, Blacklight or something,
Yeah.
like some obscure FPS that Valve sort of absorbed and sorted out. And there's a lot of material out there to. I mean, obviously the talent was there from the original studio and the original concept, but there was a lot of documentation out there of how Valve changed it and changed the scenery and you know, storytelling through the world. You know, stuff that they're really good at. But certainly, I think the AI director and things like that were in place, but they just, you know, got it to the end, made sure it was fully fleshed out.
It makes me wonder if in an alternative universe what Minecraft could have ended up being. That story we had this week with Notch was apparently offered a job at Valve when Minecraft was still in its kind of early beta stage and he turned it down. You wonder how Minecraft could have developed if the same had happened to that as happened with Left 4 Dead.
It's quite a tantalising question. What do you reckon?
It would have had a storyline. Zombies in it.
It wouldn't be out yet.
Yeah, it would be released. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love the fact that every mission or the co-op missions were self-contained stories, kind of like themed movies. That was such a good idea. It's just such a good
I
co-op
could play that
to
game
go
right
to. I
now.
think, in fact, I'm actually going to go home and install it again when I get back today. Excellent game.
Seasons Eatings.
Oh,
it worked this time.
shit.
Number 18, sorry. Tomb Raider.
Wow,
Nice.
that is bollocks.
Pick it out. Fucking pick
Tomb
it out.
Raider.
That's amazing.
Well, you weren't saying that in the bloody shortlist stage, were you?
I love you.
Chris, that was a big one for you.
I'm delighted Tomb Raider's that high.
I think it's only that high because it's. I think if that game came out a couple of years ago, it wouldn't be that high in the list. I think it's.
Nah.
I mean, it's a good game. I think it's fresh in the memory for a lot of our voters.
Jesus Christ. Sorry.
There's a lot of things to love about it. The world is beautiful. It's brilliant.
Let's not forget that Lara Croft was pretty much almost dead at that point. Like, she was a shitty character.
Well, there have been a lot of good Tomb Raider games. I'd say
Not
there's
in
been
the last
more
few,
good
not
than
in this
bad.
generation I can think of.
Yeah, I'd say
Guardian
that's
of Light
Legends.
is the only one I can think of.
Legends.
was alright.
Yeah.
And the remake.
Anniversary?
Yeah.
That's free.
Aren't they remakes though?
Anniversary was. But
Anniversary was.
Legends
Yeah,
That
but they're
doesn't really
not. They're
count.
not. They're not. They're not.
Like,
They're not.
the
They're not
reimaginings.
updates. They're remakes. So they are new games.
This was kind of an evolution for that series, though. Even if it is just cribbing Uncharted and other games, it's something different.
I've got a lot of love for it. I did thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, certainly the world, as I said, I think is beautiful, and there is a sense of danger and place there, which is really difficult to now, in a video game. There were, the tomb stuff as well was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Like, remember the tomb in the wind tunnel in the caves, and everything's clattering away, and you have to work it out. It really did recapture the spirit of the original. Like, it did it brilliantly. There were certain elements that annoyed me, as you'd know if you listened to the previous podcasts. It was a bit too dude bro for me in between places. I think they could still work on the Lara character. It's admirable what they talk about to kind of make her more real, more of a likable feminine hero. I still think it was a bit too lipstick and shotgun, but it's a great start, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with it next.
Yeah, I just love the pacing. I mean, for a while I was bored of Tomb Raider because it was just constant. The combat was a kind of pain in the arse in older Tomb Raider games, but a lot of them were like, it was just a constant focus on exploration and puzzles and that winds me up if there's too much of a focus on that. And on the other hand, games that are all just kind of mindless action, I get bored with those really quickly as well. But for me, this one just hit the perfect balance, just for me personally, where you would explore a tomb, you'd have these optional tombs that you'd go in and you had your puzzle section, and then you'd go out and could switch your brain off for a bit and just blast through loads of people because you know that coming up soon there'll be another puzzly bit. It's just like, it kind of, I don't know.
I guess this means that you guys would define Tomb Raider as a must-play game, and it's good that there's a new version coming out for Xbox One
With
and
you here.
PS4. So I guess
Mm.
people, if they haven't played it, like me,
Yeah.
they have no
I'll
excuse.
play it again. I mean,
Yeah, I
I
would
think
gladly
I
play
think
it
it
again.
says a lot that there has been little to no outrage over the announcement of the, which is basically just a cosmetic update for the next gen consoles.
sure.
Hair
Because
physics.
I think a lot of people, including myself, quite happily play it again,
Yeah.
prettier version.
I'll
Yeah.
play it again.
Number 17, Far Cry 3.
Wow.
I love Far Cry 3. Brilliant.
So do I.
I love Far Cry 3. I just want to point out that I was about 5 hours into Far Cry 3, and then Uplay said it needed to update. So I had to switch off the game and everything and update Uplay. And Uplay was corrupted. The game file was fine, but Uplay was corrupted, so I could no longer play Far Cry 3.
I think you did something wrong.
Yeah.
No, it was.
Broke it.
I was.
What
was
did
I
you
bet
do
you I
wrong,
could fix
Rob?
that.
I was living in a house where there was like very little internet connection. Like it was like
No.
terrible. You might as well.
So Ubisoft
Basically,
isn't it to
I
blame?
turned Wi-Fi off my phone, so it was just on a 3G connection. That's how bad the internet was, and so it just messed up the Uplay update. So basically, Uplay destroyed my Far Cry 3
I
experience.
think your
You're-
choice to live in a bad area
To
with
live in
poor
a barn.
coverage
My
destroyed
choice.
the game.
Yeah. you don't
Where
play.
can I find a place that's got really poor internet?
Imagine if
So
that was-
anyway, video games.
Fucking hate you.
What a beautiful
What a disgrace.
sandbox. Not only looks great, it's just a ton of fun to
Mm.
explore. I'm not going to say it was tons of fun to shoot tigers in the face, but hey, maybe it was. It's just awesome. I think the only thing that game was missing was I would have liked to, some sort of drop in, drop out co-op element. They would have had to change the game entirely. They would have had to, get rid of their amazing storyline. Just tons of fun. It's by far the best installment in the series for me.
Oh my god, yeah! What an incredible job they've done of turning something that people
Yeah.
didn't care about into something that people desperately want the next version of. Now.
Yeah.
I mean, it captured what Far Cry's about. Which even Crysis and Crytek, who created the series, have struggled to subsequently, which is, approaching a kind of a shootout from any direction that you wish and planning out your attack. And
Yeah.
like, because I always used to like and this would have been completely unique to myself, I guess, or a lot of people. See, my strategy would be I'd kind of find a nice tree to hide behind, get the sniper rifle out, shoot out the alarms in a camp. So they can't call in reinforcements, and then just start gunning guys down, and they'd all go ape shit, and they come running out, and then they'd be looking for me, and that was my strategy. Whereas other people do it differently. They,
I was stealth, went in quietly and knifed as many people as I could, and then if it required it, I'd start firing a weapon. But most of the time it didn't. I could just.
I think it's a testament to the AI that you both have different approaches and you both found it very fun.
Yeah, it worked in both occasions. It wasn't like you felt, I can do stealth, but it's kind of gimped. It isn't. It worked perfectly fine. It was good.
It felt like an actual tropical island as well.
Yeah,
like I just ran
gorgeous.
around for such a big bloody set of islands. Like I was happily running around on foot, trekking through trees and across beaches and
the
come
animals
across little
as well.
camps. And, groups of animals.
I love the
It
animals
felt
as
like
well.
it felt lived in.
Which
Again is a very difficult thing to capture. Like games like Bioshock Infinite, I don't think the world, as incredible as it was, that didn't feel lived in. Whereas these islands felt like real places.
and you could, and I love how you could look at the patterns, the patrol patterns of enemies, and just can't start stalking enemies. It's a great feeling.
There's some great touches in there, like the crafting, like having it telling you what animals you needed and what materials you needed, and then showing you where those things are on the map.
That was so
you could
amazing.
just go explore. And then there's stuff like the wingsuit and the glider, which is just fun to mess around with.
We just touched on it with Tomb Raider, and I mentioned this on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. I would buy Far Cry 3 Definitive Edition for next gen. I could say that about a lot of games that come out the last year, because Far Cry 3 again is a game that fell into the window of the last year and a half of a game that really is significantly better, or visually at least, on PC. I played it on PC, but I'd play it again on console, on the new consoles, definitely.
It was also amazing.
Needs more malaria.
Technically amazing as well.
Needs more malaria. Malaria edition.
Technically it was amazing. I don't think there's load screens. I don't recall. I mean, at the start there's obviously a big load screen, but like
there are, but not when you're obviously walking around the sandbox.
which is fantastic, really.
It's a very Assassin's Creed type of game. Then,
Oh
isn't
yeah,
it?
good. And
Assassin's
now the
Creed,
new
yeah.
Assassin's Creed's a very Far
Far
Cry
Cry
game.
type of game,
Good.
yeah. And let's not forget that awesome like dubstep weed burning mission.
Oh,
which
yeah,
was
wop, wop.
so good. Yeah, and there's also
I
like
didn't get to
Blood
see
Dragon as well, which is a really really good
Yeah.
DLC pack for it. It's just
Oh,
so
yeah.
fun.
That's
We
amazing.
haven't even mentioned Blood
Yeah.
Dragon.
Yeah,
That's
so
absolutely awesome.
all round an excellent revival. And
They still
Yeah.
haven't done the dinosaur DLC. If you're listening, Yanis Smele, you promised me dinosaurs.
Yeah, finger
Dragons are not dinosaurs.
Get rid of Uplay.
especially techno
Get
dragons.
rid of you play. You don't
Seriously.
play.
Number
joke.
16, Dead Space.
Oh, what a game!
Such a good game.
I thought you were going to go, what's a goal? Rob, pay attention.
This was
It's
this is a
really
big
satisfying
favourite.
to see that at the end of 8 years,
Yeah,
that place there in our list after the original came out. And I went out and got it and played it over Christmas. So I think it came out Halloween,
yeah,
and I had to like force people in the office to play it
Mm.
because
Yeah.
it just had little advert. I mean, obviously the second one sold significantly better than
Yeah.
the first, and even that is not regarded as a remarkable seller.
yeah.
And yet I had to lend it around the office and go, just play this game. Oh, all right. And a lot of people I lent it to just didn't even get around to playing it. So I had to get the game back and lend it to someone else. I really had to champion that game and get people to play
Yeah.
it. And obviously
Yeah.
by the time the second one came round, it got a bit more recognition. But
Of course,
it's such an awesome game in a genre that doesn't get enough love criminally.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it
What
is
genre is
Resident. It is Resident
Survival
Evil.
horror.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's
What-
Resident
what's
Evil.
it
For
rated?
I
this
thought you were going to say
generation.
third person action.
Yeah, sports.
And I was just like, I take that as a.
It's not a third-person
Yeah.
action game.
FIFA.
It kind of, it technically
The
is.
first
but like,
one?
Yeah, what the
That
series has
to me,
become.
that is a survival horror
Yeah,
game.
that's why I love it so much. It's like while Capcom drops the
Mm.
ball and then stumbles.
I
to
remember they
figure out
bottled
where
it a
is
little
again.
bit.
Yeah.
I remember I went to see Dead Space while it was still in development, and in the preview build you couldn't pause the game.
Oh,
Like it was a big
That's
thing.
horrifying.
I think all of the once that got out through the press, the community kind of had a massive moan about that. Like, oh, what if someone phones up? Oh,
The
it's supposed
community
to,
were
right?
moaning on the internet.
whoa!
That's a bit.
So they took it out, but that was. I'd love to have played that version.
Yeah.
Can't even pause it.
That's terrifying.
That's pretty much the best
terrible.
survival horror
Because obviously,
of this generation.
the
It
thing
is,
that they
yeah.
innovated in as well is I'm pretty sure this was a Dead Space thing, right?
The
It's been a
UI.
while now. How the inventory was
yeah,
in
just
game.
projected.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
That's-
just
Yeah,
so. That was
projected UI.
such
Whereas
a clever touch.
in Resident Evil, that used to be a haven, an
Yeah.
escape from the
Yeah.
horror. Like, oh, I'll just go to the inventory and sit in here for a
Yeah.
bit. You can't do that.
I think it's probably the best audio.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
they won a BAFTA, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
they will absolutely deserve
Yeah.
to. I can't
EA.
remember audio that was maybe Battlefield Bad Company.
Yeah, Battlefield, any EA game, if you can, that's the one thing you can rely on from EA. They'll do good audio.
Yeah.
Battlefield is amazing.
I'm pretty sure, I might be making this up. Pretty sure they helped out on Battlefield subsequently.
Oh,
Probably.
did they?
I might be wrong, but they've won a lot of plaudits for their audio. I mean,
Yeah,
I remember one
incredible
section
work.
in the game, and I was talking to one of the developers at some meeting or another about this section, and there's a bit in the original Dead Space where there's just really loud machinery, and it's just thoroughly
Oh, yeah.
uncomfortable. It's like
Yeah.
definitely loud, and they told me they recorded a subway train like screaming through, a station, and that's the noise. It's just like a large
Yeah,
crank, and it
yeah.
just doesn't stop. So you can't hear enemies creeping up on
That's
you, and it's really
horrible.
uncomfortable noise.
Yeah.
First time
yeah.
you go into 0G in that game as well.
Oh my
It's just
god.
so good. And then it sends you out into space as well, doesn't
When
it?
you're in space, that is
Yeah.
just incredible.
It's
But
just like
you feel
looking
so,
around.
You feel so alone, don't
Yeah.
you? When the audio and visuals work
Mm.
perfectly to sort of give you this real amazing sense of isolation.
I will say I did thoroughly enjoy the second one as well.
Yeah.
But the first one really affected me in terms of I was a bit weird for a couple of days after playing that game. I was super scared. Like I was just jumpy. Honest truth. God's honest truth. I was just a bit jumpy and a bit weird.
Rob, your tea's ready.
just putting down a fork onto a plate. Rob's out the window. Number 15, Red Dead Redemption.
Nice.
Go on in.
Looking at
Go on
it,
in.
it's Nice. That's just a great
I think,
game.
that is probably one of Rockstar's it's one of two of Rockstar's best games of this generation, I guess.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
You
I
don't sound
imagine
like you
the second
fucking
one
love
is
Red
you're
Dead
referring to as
Redemption.
Rockstar Table Tennis.
Yeah,
Of course.
obviously.
Obviously.
What else would it be?
We'll get to
Rockstar
that
Table
later.
Tennis is underrated and awesome. But yeah, Red Dead Redemption is a brilliant game. Connor really liked it. He said John Marston, the only likable Rockstar protagonist over the age of majority, lived, spoilers, and died in one of the most compelling virtual worlds ever created. So yeah, I think that I enjoyed Red Dead Redemption, but up until the post-credit sequence, it was okay for me. Like I wouldn't class it as one of the best games this generation. And then you get that ending segment as John Marston Jr. or whatever his name is, and that is what like made that game memorable for me. Otherwise, it was kind of like mostly a kind of not reskin, but alternate Grand Theft Auto for me. But that ending bit was really, really special.
We're really selling this game as a game of the generation.
I loved it in that for some odd reason there aren't many Western video games, and before that I love Western movies, but before that all I had to kind of go on was Gun, which was a kind of HD update and a terrible Call of Juarez game. Well, thankfully the new one's great, but the one that was out at the time was a bit shit.
It should also top the glitches of the generation
Yeah,
list.
without a doubt.
That's I had a lot of problems playing that game. It was quite bug, but like that was redeemed by a lot of the stuff that Rockstar games are known for, the kind of the tales that people tell, or the Phantom Stranger story. Like, who was that guy? I still don't even know who that guy was. This random, like, messiah-like person that would appear randomly and just be like, I'm watching you, John. I'm watching you. I know what you're going to do. It's like, who is this guy? Is he John Marston from the future? Is he God? Who is he? And then, like, this stuff like the Sasquatch, where if you kill the Sasquatch and it turns out he's got like a family and stuff, and you feel really bad about it, and you're like, oh man, that sucks.
It was just amazing to play a GTA quality game in a totally different environment, because Bully was almost kind of GTA quality, but not quite, only set in a school, but that was a kind of small kind of area, whereas Red Dead was kind of GTA quality, but with the same kind of scale and completely in different environment.
Essentially, it is a GTA game then.
Yeah, your horses are cars.
It's the game that's so good it single-handedly put about 3 companies out of business.
Yeah, there was always that
all
famous...
of those that decided to release on the same day as Red Dead Redemption. No,
Yeah.
that's all right. It's just some
Western game.
Let's not forget Undead Nightmare as well.
A little bit of insight that I'll probably regret saying. So a couple of Disney executives were talking to each other before the release of Red Dead Redemption, and they were talking about the release of a game called Split Second. It was a racer that was going to be released.
Great game.
Yeah, going to be released on the same weekend. And one executive, who shall go unnamed, said to another executive who shall go unnamed,
Oh boy! Gorsh! Red Dead Redemption.
he said, hey, look, we're going to be releasing Split Second the same weekend as Red Dead Redemption. Are you sure you want to do this? And the other executive was like, well, what's that? It's like, it's a Rockstar game. And the other exec turns back to him and says, no one is going to buy a cowboy game.
And the other one went,
What are you talking about?
Didn't Blur release at the same time as well?
I think it did, yeah.
Christ's sake.
Yeah, so everyone who had money went out and bought
Red Dead.
GTA Cowboy. And Split Second didn't do very well. That studio closed down. Disney left the games business, eventually purchased LucasArts and then closed down purchased LucasArts, then closed it down. And yeah, so loads of horrible things have happened because of Rockstar.
Red Dead Redemption.
I have a particular affinity for games that play like music during long, like kind of moments of pause. Like for example, in Metal Gear 3, where you're climbing the ladder and it plays the Metal Gear song. And
that ladder's stupidly too long.
I know, but it's just
you
made
can't
better.
make a ladder that long.
That ladder is far. It's structurally unsound, that ladder. And in Red Dead Redemption, there was the going to Mexico and playing that Jose Gonzalez Gone Home, I think it's called, something like that, Far Away, that track. And that's also one of my like favorite moments from that game.
It's odd because it's similar to other Rockstar games in that the first like hour is extremely slow. But for some reason I didn't mind so much with this. I know some people did, but personally I didn't, because the atmosphere was just so
I'm
it's
ashamed.
the Wild West. It's a different pace of life there.
The bit you're just kind of riding really slowly on a horse from one town to the next, talking to some guy, just still kept my attention for some
I'm ashamed
reason.
to say I didn't survive the first few
No.
hours. I just found it so
Yeah.
boring.
Undead Nightmare was pretty
Sure.
good as well, and it came out at a time where the industry was saturated with zombie spin-offs,
Yeah.
and that one managed to put its own unique twist on it, and it was really, really fun.
Yeah. The horseshoe throwing can piss off though. That was terrible.
Number 14.
Oh my god, number 14 already.
Yep. It's a Halo game,
Oh.
and it's Andy's favorite Halo game and mine, ODST.
Well, we should clarify that the reason ODST's in here is
it's
because
a better game.
we decided that it was the definitive Halo. I think Reach comes close, but we decided it was the all-round, the best one of the gen. I mean, I had some back and forward with OXM over that choice, but then
Yeah.
I think even they came around. They were like, well, didn't Halo 3 have, introduce the recording feature and have the multiplayer? And we're like, well, ODST had Halo 3's multiplayer, plus, all the DLC and extra stuff. And it also introduced, Horde mode or Firefight, whatever it's
Firefight.
called. And the weapons were better balanced than Halo 3. I think it's the best, because after this was basically the iteration, because Halo 2, Halo 3, and then on to ODST, and then after that they started to reinvent things. It was the best balance, the most iterated, perfected Halo sandbox for me, and it was put into a sandbox environment. A lot of people don't get that, but I didn't enjoy the OJO, but I thought it complemented the gameplay, which is for a Halo is a sandbox game.
Yeah.
With, even though it's actually linear, everything within it is built for sandbox. That world with a beautiful, is it Marty O'Donnell?
Yeah,
Is he
I think so.
Yeah, like kind of jazz soundtrack for that, and also for the first time in Halo series, it had characters you could give a shit about as
Yeah.
well.
Nathan
I mean,
Fillion.
I'm not saying they're like these they're not going to win any Oscars,
No.
but at least they had some personality.
Yeah, like, it's
it
different.
wasn't like gruff dude bro in
It's like
helmet.
Lego Green Power Ranger, man. What we've had for years and years, and now we get an actual human face to
Plus
be the main
Superintendent,
character.
one of the best Halo
Yeah.
characters ever.
Yeah, we say that all about Master Chief, and then the best character in the game is an AI.
Yeah.
So like, it's just such a good game. The atmosphere and the story is what tips it over the other Halo games for me. Like,
I just think at its core, I mean, we played Firefight for hours and hours and hours. It was just so well balanced. Even playing through the campaign on Legendary, it was just perfect. Like, it was just the what's the word am I looking
Culmination.
for? Culmination of years and years of refinement on the weapons and the enemies. I mean, you can go in there and it's like, all right, you got some brutes, and this one's got this weapon, and you go for them, and you go for the grunts, and then there's a Watcher in there, and he's got a shield on them, so you go for the Watcher, and you choose this gun and that gun. There's every Halo you can pretty much go through and go, that gun's shit. Like, that gun's shit. There are no shit guns in ODST. They're just all perfectly balanced.
Yeah, I agree. Mike Jackson really loved it as well. He said Halo ODST stands as the pinnacle of what I refer to as the Bungie era Halo. It's debatable which of the 3 Bungie era Halo games on Xbox 360 was the best, but for sheer atmosphere and not being afraid of stepping outside of the box, ODST wins.
Yeah, and I think certainly, I mean, the only one for me that you would say contends with it on those qualities would be Reach, and yet Reach was very much the next step down the path that ODST.
It's interesting that the game was released after, developed on after Halo 3, because when you play Halo 3, you do feel that sort of pressure that was placed on Bungie to deliver what was considered one of the most important games of all time. And I think they played. I mean, I think they did a great job with Halo 3, but it was safe, wasn't it? There were lots
It's worth
of
saying
shots
as well that in many respects, because of the pressure that you're talking about, it was overcooked in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
I mean, the campaign in ODST is no frills.
Yeah, but there's a rawness
6
to it.
hour.
Yeah,
It's tight.
Yeah, it's tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, Christ, like Halo 3's campaign,
Yeah.
halfway through,
It
it almost feels like they finished it halfway through, and Microsoft went, "Yeah, can we have another 6 hours, please?"
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
meandering.
That's why I haven't
You finish the fight, and then you finish the fight again, and
I
then you
still
finish the
haven't
fight again.
finished the first fight.
It's not.
And the fight is ongoing.
Yeah.
That fight will never end.
Yeah.
Plus, another reason why ODST is the best one: no fucking flood.
yeah,
Yeah.
Who
Oh,
gives
yeah.
a shit?
That's a
Yeah.
good point, actually.
The old Microsoft tick box. Well, Bungie, there's no flood.
There's no.
Can you put it in? No flood. Thank fuck for that.
Yeah. ODST, I think, is the best Halo of this generation.
So therefore,
And-
are we saying it's the best Bungie game ever as well? Then
for now.
I guess so.
Or was Halo? I guess Halo 1 was their best game. Actually, when you think about it, wasn't it? Halo 1 was pretty
well,
awesome.
you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So yeah, number 14, Halo ODST. Well done to Bungie and Microsoft. Number 13, Spelunky, which
Really?
the highest honours
do you
from
know,
Connor
yeah.
and Sean Prescott.
Sean Prescott,
Wow.
our Australian
Yeah,
news editor, and Connor, our US news editor, they both gave it their top game of the generation.
Sean
Wow.
said
They fucking love Spelunky.
Sean said it's absolutely perfect game design, bafflingly genius, and it should be an e-sport. He's played the game daily for 3 hours and is yet to complete it. And then
Wow, this is
Connor
fantastic.
said, not only is it an ingenious game I'll return to for years, it's a product of last gen's greatest paradigm shift, the rise of indie developers. Well said.
I've played the demo.
Oh my god.
We should just leave you out of the room. We'll get some sound. We should make a Rob Crossley soundboard.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
All it is
Well,
a
I
board.
played the first couple of hours.
All the soundboard is
I've not played it.
Is different numbers. So it's like 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute,
My
4
game
minute,
crashed.
5 minute, half an hour, did not finish, did not understand, do not like.
I
We just
disagree.
press it as we want it.
I'm glad a lot of people enjoy it. I don't see it. I
didn't see it either.
I don't
I just
understand.
think
It's
if
because
you don't
we were-
either get it or you don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Marmite,
Sometimes
you
it
know.
clicks and so, you
It's
know.
a score-driven old school platform
Yeah.
which has tons and tons of content. In fact, it's persistent. It's the random levels that are constantly, every single day there's
Yeah.
something new to play.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy it. I mean, I've been playing it quite a lot on Vita and PS3, but I wouldn't say it was the 13th best game this entire generation.
My
That's-
social feeds are full of people playing
Yeah.
as well who
Constantly. I mean, there's
adore it.
people that do it, like again with Minecraft and other games like that. It's very regularly being streamed by people who ordinarily wouldn't stream anymore. Like I know that there's people out there that who have no interest in broadcasting gameplay, but they will do it for Spelunky. And it's just like other games out there. It's just about learning the language of the game and then mastering that and coming back. And once you've mastered it, it's like you're proficient at the mechanics, but the game always gives you new environments and mixes everything up. So you come back and it's like a fresh
Well,
perspective.
the levels are randomly generated, right?
Yeah, so it's testing you constantly, and it's got this ambient stuff and hidden secrets. And there was that story the other day about this unkillable boss who someone figured out how to kill.
The ghost.
Yeah, the ghost.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be able to kill that thing. He's designed not
John
to be
Hicks
killed.
was losing his shit over that.
Yeah, and this guy came along and was like, I figured out how to kill this thing.
Yeah.
And it just sent that community into a spiral.
I think what it might be, what the divisive thing about it might be that we were raised on Mario, which is very saccharine, very bright, very fluid, and very colourful. And well, for me personally, at least, and with Spelunky, you are just dwelling into caves. And
I mean,
I found the presentation to be.
no, I can see the
Just
charm.
personally, I found the presentation to be just a bit off-putting.
No, I think it's charming. I can see the charm in it, and it looks really nice. It's well designed. But to me, I understand the whole the levels are randomly generated, and every day there's a daily challenge, so the people can choose to either a random challenge or have a set challenge where they're competing against everyone. I get all that. To me, it just feels like a solid platformer and nothing more.
Yeah.
But it's
I
a
think,
it's
yeah,
a
that's the
persistent,
problem.
community-driven indie game.
It's
It's just so many pillars which define this generation,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'll grow as we move on.
I think if you look at it in terms of a platformer, you kind of naturally assume your goal is to go from A to B while jumping, from point to point and evading enemies. Whereas Spelunky, you're not supposed to be doing that. You know that there's an end to the level, but it's about like moving around this environment and exploring nooks and crannies and seeing forming the picture of the level on the fly instead of knowing that it's a straight line dash towards the end
Yeah.
and there's enemies in the way. It's about using your tools and knowing if I jump from this height, I probably will die, but if I use a rope in this certain way, I can shimmy down, but I need to be careful of that snake and he'll probably turn around. I need to use this particular strategy to use it against a snake.
I think if it was a Mario game, it'd be in our top 10.
I think if it was a Mario game, it wouldn't look or play like that, though.
I think if it was, if
Well,
I
no,
know- I know what you're saying.
That's the
I know what
problem.
you're saying.
I think the reason a lot of people don't give it at the time of day, don't give it
Yeah.
a chance, is because, as you say, you go in expecting one thing. Goes, it's quite simple.
Yeah.
Just give
Yeah.
up.
I think if it
Yeah,
was a Mario game, it'd be an eShop game. It'd be completely ignored by the majority of the community, like the Mario and Donkey Kong.
I think it's
series.
impossible
That's
to
a
ignore
larger
Mario.
issue.
Well, everyone's been ignoring Mario versus
But yeah.
Donkey Kong for years. So
I'm
Anyway.
that's one of the games I'm
It
planning
doesn't
to.
star Mario, it stars little robot Marios.
Yeah.
Not even proper Marios.
Mario's
If it
They
was
don't have the
Big
soul
Happy
of Mario.
Junkie,
Save me,
Power Up
save
Mario,
me.
I'm playing that shit.
Yeah.
It's got listen.
I don't want to
Like,
play as
and then-
some Clockwork Mario.
They're the best.
It's not even
Marios.
one Clockwork
They're the
Mario. It's
best
just
Marios.
loads of them, so they're not even good.
They're the best Marios. Anyway, like
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's a great
Spelunky,
game. but I've-
number 13. I'm going to be
Controversial.
spending Christmas playing that. So yeah,
Right, I'm
can't
gonna
wait.
download. I'm gonna buy the full bloody thing.
It's
then.
on Vita. It's a good version of it.
I actually did that based just on everyone raving
Mhm.
about it. I just bought it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like I'll
Yeah.
just buy it just based
Yeah.
on the furore, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
It's cross-buy as well, apparently.
Yep.
Buy the Vita, you get a PS3 one.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's quite good actually. Don't know why I'm complaining.
Okay. Number 12, The Walking Dead Season 1.
Oh. Stop pressing my soundboard buttons. This was an amazing, beautiful, moving game, wasn't it?
It was definitely.
It was surprisingly well written.
Yeah.
It was written by Gary Witter, who
He didn't write the whole thing. He wrote a
I'm
couple of
sorry.
episodes.
You wrote the
Yeah,
title.
right, Crossy.
yeah, it was just so beautiful. It's just the characterization, and it was like when people talk about like what makes a good TV series and what makes good films, people always refer to casting. They say, it's really important that you have the right characters, and I guess it also is true in adventure games because the characters in The Walking Dead make it what it is. There are emotions you have in that game that you don't have in any other games. Like you're disappointed with people. You're disappointed by someone being cowardly at a really important moment in the game.
Yeah.
And I just think that's quite a unique feeling to have, really, to be disappointed by someone who's only looking after themselves when we've all got to stick together. And I just thought it was just what an amazingly captivating game. And certainly the ending, and there'll be no spoilers, but certainly the ending did make me very emotional.
Yeah, I think it was another one of those games that I'm a big fan of the comic book series, and I'm quite precious about when that series is taken into other media. So I haven't seen The Walking Dead TV series because I watched the first episode and there was a character that was introduced and I was like, nope, he's not in the character, I'm out. He's not in the original comic series, I'm out. But like I approached the Telltale's game with similar.
Telltale's game. I'm talking about Activision's game.
Oh shit, that game is a different.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. We're talking about the FPS, right? The one with all the fucking crap zombies everywhere.
Me and Chris streamed that and it was abysmal.
Yeah,
it was
that
so
should
bad.
still be on the site. Check it.
I bet Chris Scullion's still got 1000G.
No, I couldn't even.
No, that one was really bad. There was like
for once.
there was like character models inside. Like there's a hero, one of the AI companions inside the car, and then it's like he's with two other people, and this is the same character model three
Yeah,
times.
it's amazing. It's like a police. It's a police car. It's like a crash police car, and the policeman's sitting in it. And behind them, there's a guy like in the back seat of the police car, and they've both got exactly the same face.
And then you turn around, and there's a zombie that looks kind of like them as well. It's like, yeah, it's all the same model.
Activision Publishing.
But let's go back to the actual Telltale game. It was a really, really good game. Like
Yeah, Ian
I
Wilson.
was quite precious about it, and when I played the first episode, it starts really slow, and I know Andy will talk about this later, but he couldn't get into it. But I was really, really, really appreciative of how it takes its time with everything. It's like it unfolds how a comic book would, how a TV show would, really.
And your decisions have meaning
yeah,
as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the fact that it surfaced other people's decisions at the end, where you're like, oh, it's like this many people decided to kill this guy, or this many people spoke this
that
way.
was awesome.
It's just so interesting to see, because there was a
Yeah.
story recently about there's a point where where you can decide whether to kill a character, and he's a character that they spend a lot of time building up to be an unlikable person.
Yeah, that's right.
And then what Telltale said was, when we gave people the chance to kill that character, we found that a lot of those people kind of pulled back on it, and their real human morals and emotions came into play, and they didn't go through with what they said they would, or they indicate they felt they would do.
It's
So it's just an
fascinating,
amazing
really.
moment. Yeah, such a good game. And there's like points in there where, some of the most memorable moments from this generation, like the kid in the attic, who
That was really
play. That was like
haunting.
affecting. It was
Yeah.
really, really difficult. It was just one moment to, and I've never felt that way playing a game. It's just being presented with that, and it kind of, it flashed. It made its way into my own life, because that kid is such a weird thing to say. He looked like my younger brother, and I was
Shit.
like, oh, fuck, this is weird, man. I don't
Yeah.
like it, and it was just it made you feel grimy at times. At the same time, it made you feel hopeful when you spoke to Clementine and you could
The
reassure
relationship
her.
between
Yeah.
Lee and Clementine was just,
It's such
just
a good
amazing.
game, and like, shout out to Telltale for casting a black guy as their main character.
Yeah,
Which I mean, it's such a small thing, but you don't see like.
tropeless black.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
They
He was-
weren't resorting to any like.
I mean, he.
I'm gonna
yeah,
fuck you up, motherfucker.
Yeah, he didn't do any of that. He was
None of
like,
that.
he was a.
It's the real
you know, he
person.
had a history, and he was quite remorseful of what he's done in the past, and he was
Yeah.
he could be open when you want to. He was a real person,
Yeah.
and it's such. Yeah, everyone in that game was not a video game character.
Yeah,
overtly.
and that's the important thing.
Yeah, they were.
But also, it was a horror game. Still, there was still a pervading sense
Yeah.
of being unnerved and being quite frightened and worried about what was going to happen. And
Yeah.
to merge all of that together, it's just
Mm.
quite an amazing package.
It makes me. I dropped out of that genre for a while,
Mm.
point and click adventure games, but it makes me excited for the future of that genre again. Like, I played Monkey Island again HD, and it's fun and stuff, but this evolution, I didn't play like Telltale's previous games, and they've been doing stuff with Monkey Island.
Some of them
and-
sucked
and
apparently. The Jurassic Park
but
one.
this
Yeah.
this it kind of set them on the right course as well.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
This game was excellent, and season 2, it looks. I'm very excited about it. We all are, and it looks like it's shaping up nicely. They've been talking about it really, really like.
Yeah.
They're saying good things. At the same time, the Fables game the first episode was amazing,
Yeah,
and I'm
it's
just
well
so much more
interesting.
interested in that entire genre now after
Yeah.
after season 1 of The
Yeah.
Walking Dead.
Yeah. Ian
Yeah.
Wilson, our guides editor, it also agrees he loves the game. He says, yes, I cried at the end and he can't wait for the second series.
Yeah, Connor also enjoyed it quite a bit. He said time choices turned a choose-your-own graphical adventure into a struggle for survival, more against your own unsure judgment than the undead.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Excellent game. All right. Number 11 on our list.
So this is before the big
Top 10
big
games
top 10
of
games
the generation.
of the most important
So-
generation
so
in the history of games.
Narrowly missed out on being one of our top 10 games of the generation, but still
still
worthy
must
of
be awesome.
acclaim. Assassin's Creed 2.
I've not said anything in a while.
Yeah,
Go on,
I think
Go,
yeah,
Andy.
Hit us with
It's
it.
good, isn't it?
it's really good. Really,
You know,
really good.
when the end of the first Assassin's Creed and everyone speculated where it'd go next, I don't think a single person said
No.
Renaissance era Italy. Not one person.
Yeah.
But isn't it brilliant that we can
Well,
play?
someone must have eventually said it.
Isn't it brilliant that we can play video games now that explore these
Yeah.
places and eras and
Yeah.
wow, it says so much about the medium.
Yeah.
Where it's, I mean, there's no bloody Renaissance era Italy PS1 games. Someone's going to correct me in the comments.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you'll
Actually,
find.
I think you'll find Pizza Simulator 1.
I think you'll find the fall of Rome.
It's just fucking.
made up.
It's the. it's still the best installment. Every. I mean, Brotherhood is also amazing. I'd say it's as good.
It's because that online element that people loved, right?
Yeah,
Brotherhood.
Brotherhood's as good, but it's still very iterative of 2.
Mm.
But two's that, I mean, Ezio's one of the most likable characters of the generation. You can't say that about who's the second most likable Ubisoft character.
Rabbids.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Rabbids. Yeah, they're not great at
That
making
blue fat
characters.
thing
The
is
man
like that,
from
it's
Shoot
alright.
Mania Storm.
Yeah, it will
Blue
be a
fat
cartoon
thing.
character
That memorable blue
because
fat thing.
most
He's
of their
alright,
most
mate.
of their characters are cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Right,
Like
maybe
Yves
Ezio
Guillemot.
is as well, but he's one of the most likable characters of the generation,
Yves
no
Guillemot,
doubt.
he was a
He's got a great story. The game itself, it improved on Assassin's Creed 1 and got rid of all those repetitive, annoying tropes
Yeah.
so well. The universe is beautiful and so great to explore, and it's the only. I'd even say it didn't even fuck up the modern day narrative, which every
There
other
was
one
just
pretty
enough of
much
it.
did. It's well, the first one perhaps not, but he didn't have the ambition. I mean, you start the game and you're like, you're escaping, right? Okay, they introduced Danny Wallace, which I still hit my head on the wall regularly about.
The thing I didn't like about the Danny Wallace scenes is before he said anything, you could tell he was at a recording studio because he would take a massive inhalation of breath. So before he'd said anything, he'd go like that. And so when you play through the game again, listen out, because you always hear, before he says anything, you hear a...
My
Danny's about
problem
to
with
say
his
something.
problem with his character is that he's just completely 2D.
Yeah.
He has one trait,
Yeah.
sarcastic.
Yeah.
He has no other mood.
I'm the nerd
It's like-
in the group.
Oh, so we're voting for the games of the generation, are we? All right. Well, fine.
that'll be
Let's do
Assassin's
that
Creed
then. Okay, we'll vote for them. Great.
And
That's
it's
him.
also the way,
In
like,
every line.
almost every other character completely ignores him. He's just an annoying sound behind everyone else.
We need some comedy, a comedy sidekick. Just break the tension.
Yeah.
Oh, just stick Danny Wallace in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, actually, that he got on board.
Yeah.
I hear a rumour through the Golden Joysticks, our awards do, so we are actually to blame, possibly. I'm really sorry about that.
really?
Sorry about that, guys.
But yeah, the narrative day stuff, sans Danny Wallace, I mean, that ending is like...
Mm.
But doesn't he actually say, what, like, fuck?
Yeah, he says it.
Like,
Yeah.
the last word of the game is like, fuck or something.
Yeah.
Like, which is pretty much every player's reaction. What the shit just happened?
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting concept as well. But
Mm.
everyone moans about the modern day stuff. But I mean, you were talking about Black Flag, the latest game, as
Yeah.
well. And that, I agree. Like, the melding of, like, 16th century history with super futuristic sci-fi is it feels so fresh. It's such a fascinating concept. After that, they jumped the shark a bit
Yeah.
past the subsequent Ezio games, which is still solid. But yeah, I mean, awesome game. I hope they remake it in 20 years. I'll play it again.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think, like I've said before, I really like games that do good, like movement, flow, and that kind of thing. And out of the Assassin's Creed games, that's still one of the best ones. It feels really
You
good.
could swim.
Yeah, you
couldn't swim in the first one.
Yeah, and I
Swimming.
think that's one.
True.
That might be the one where they introduced like stuff like the reach out grab, so you could make massive leaps of faith
Did
jumps.
you have what's the name of his crib?
Monteriggioni or something like that. Was that it?
We'll just call it his crib.
Yeah, his
That was it. That was in 2, wasn't it? It wasn't Brotherhood. So you had
yeah,
this
you
sandbox element where you had your own like little fort. You could customize that, couldn't you? You could even run around and explore
I
that.
think that was in that game, yeah. But it was just like stuff like the shops that you could buy in the city. That was amazing because you had to, it forced you to go down there. Like you could have spent most of that game on the rooftops if you wanted to, but you'd go down there and buy the shops just for overall completion and to get more of a discount on stuff that you
I'm
buy.
pretty sure it was the last Assassins that didn't have really fucking annoying like eavesdrop and
Yeah.
like stealth follow me missions as well,
And it's just like
which deserves a gold star in itself. And I think Brotherhood introduced the even more annoying sub-objectives. Like, full
kill this man, but
syndication,
don't get into combat.
synchronization. So we were talking about earlier about how great Far Cry is and how Assassin's Creed has become more like Far Cry and Far Cry has become more like Assassin's Creed. Those elements are the anti-Far Cry. Here's this amazing sandbox where you can do what you want, but if you don't do it in exactly the way our development team want you to, we will punish you.
Yeah.
I think
None of that in Assassin's Creed 2.
that was one of the first games of this generation, or the most memorable game of this generation, that paid like an incredible amount of detail to its source material, which is essentially history. Like the amount of time I spent just reading.
Oh, I did that, yeah.
It's mad. The amount of my knowledge about Renaissance Italy just skyrocketed.
I still
game.
do it, I mean, we talk about games as a useful medium, like especially for kids.
It's a
and
great
stuff, like,
learning
It's not
tool,
a kids
yeah.
game, but I still do that every time a tooltip comes up and it goes, "Oh, you're at the Colosseum or whatever." Oh, really? And I get the kind of the text up and I have a good old read about where I am.
Yeah.
The other thing that we haven't even mentioned is all the Subject 17 stuff, which was absolutely awesome. I spent. Do you know what? It's this might out me a bit, but it's one of 2 games I've 1000 G'd.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you
I
really
think I've
were
got
I mean, it's
one.
difficult to 1000 G any game.
it is,
By
yeah.
the
Especially
time
these days.
I'm like, I can't be asked to go online. And
Is the
kill
second
1,000
one
people and stuff.
Fight Night Round 3, by the way?
No, Sega
Yeah.
Mega Drive Collection,
Yeah.
which is well easy to
Really
1000
easy
G.
to
Yeah.
So really, it's only one game of 1000 G. But
yeah.
I played that game I made sure I had every single bit. I spent
Wow.
hours looking for all the silly feathers,
quite
which is stuff I
absorbing.
can't be asked to do in other games.
I think
And that Subject 17 stuff was just absolutely excellent.
it was really the game that established the series. I know, obviously, one, chronologically established the series, but the one that put it on the map was Assassin's
Yeah.
Creed 2.
Yeah, definitely. I love that they just thought so far outside the box with that entire series. Like the first one, it was just amazing because it was in a setting that no one could have predicted. It's like the Holy Lands. What? Who's going to put a game there and actually talk about this kind of like conflict between Templars and that kind of thing? And that's where it kind of established that it was a game about going to these weird worlds and weird, but like alternative worlds and having these characters and stuff. Ezio is, like you said, one of the most memorable characters of this generation, and that game is just like top to bottom incredible.
And also, you can stab 2 people in the face simultaneously,
Yep, you can.
which feels really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Assassin's Creed 1 was pretty cool, but now he took that game, took it to a
Hasn't it got the
level.
hidden gun as well? Is that the one that introduces the hidden cannon? Like the hand cannon?
Yeah, the hand
hidden-
cannon. There's
hidden-
a point.
Oh,
yeah.
man, I laughed my tits off the first time I saw that game. That gun. It's like, oh yeah, this is the hidden hand cannon. All right, you get on the roof. It's like, bang! And you iron it up. And it sounds like a rocket going on. every guard civilian within a 5-mile radius is like the ultimate stealth assassin.
And I love that what it did with weaving actual figures from history into its own like weird storyline,
Yeah.
like having Leonardo da Vinci in there, and he's like, "Yeah, I invented coffee. Enjoy
Yeah.
that." That kind of
But it was
thing.
coffee without milk.
Enjoy it.
Yeah,
And as it says, it still needs something.
yeah. And he's like, "Maybe milk." It's like, making a latte.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's historically accurate.
Yeah. Don't take
No,
that
it
as
took
facts.
it took its liberties, but it did it in such a good way.
So that was the 11th
That was the
of all
11th
time.
game. So
Do you know what? Do you know what I think we should do? I think, just very quickly, we should go through 40 to 11 before we get to the big top 10.
Like top of the
All
pops.
the
Are
way.
you going to do that, Rob?
Yep, sure.
I think we should. I think we should
go
go
on,
to
because we don't have a list.
Yeah, no, I think we should do. I think we should
Oh,
do
we
the top
don't have
20.
the-
I think we should do the top 20.
All right, yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
So
Okay.
at number 20 was Batman: Arkham Asylum.
Well done. Very good.
No, don't clap. You're gonna.
Sarcastic.
This is...
Golf clap.
Number 19, Left 4 Dead. Number 18, Tomb Raider. Number 17, Far Cry 3. Number 16, Dead Space.
Awesome.
Number 15, that game Mickey Mouse thought would definitely fail, Red Dead Redemption. Number 14, the best
Allegedly.
Halo ODST.
Yeah.
Number 13, Chris doesn't understand Spelunky.
I understand. it.
Number 12,
Give a
Walking
shit.
Dead Season 1.
Awesome.
Number 11, Assassin's Creed 2, aka Metroid Italy. And number 10, top 10, here we go.
Ooh.
Bioshock.
Oh, good game.
Yeah, I think, number 10, Bioshock. Good game.
You know, I said
Good game, that one.
I said Assassin's Creed 2 was one of 2 games I've 1000 G'd.
The other one.
Bioshock, I've only not 1000 G'd that. It's not because of lack of trying. I've played through that game 3 times. So you can count those games this generation on one hand, probably, where I can be asked to play through something twice. I played through that game twice to mop stuff up, and it rewards different play styles. And what an awesome game. It's the best realised world of the generation, surely.
Mhm.
What
Yeah,
a
definitely up there. Yeah,
great place to to explore.
Yeah.
I'd love to make a sequel to Bioshock. I'll do a better job than 2K Marin.
Jesus.
Wasn't the sequel really good though?
Bold one.
Me and my
good.
zero coding experience will be
I
much better.
reviewed it. Level for level, it's a better game. Like if you put them side by side, level for level, it's a better game, but it's not a better game.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
okay. But
yeah.
still really good.
yeah, it's good. It's not Bioshock 1.
So about Bioshock 1, I guess the stuff that stands out.
Is this
the
where you say that you've not played it?
No, the characters, I suppose. The
Yeah.
characters and the narrative, that twist at the end, which everyone was talking about, probably like for 5 years.
It's not at the end, it's in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but sorry, yeah, of course, yeah. But in terms of, okay, fine, the end of Act 2, the massive plot twist, I think people still talk about that.
Yeah.
Really
Would you kindly?
Would you kindly? Yeah.
That is just and it was one of those moments where you're like, what?
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and see if this holds up. And
Yeah,
it
yeah.
totally does
And
when you go back
it's-
through it.
And it's pretty fucking meta because there's after you find out, there's like this one room you have to pull a lever in a certain room, and the guy says, "Now, would you kindly pull the lever?" And as a gamer, you can't carry on until you pull the bloody thing.
Yeah.
So you are kind of contributing to that whole.
I think that game
also
is
that whole narrative.
I think that game is single-handedly responsible for raising the IQ level of gamers slightly. Like you went to forums and you'd see people like these forums that I used to went to. It's just full of morons and crazy people that spend most of their time just fighting over like my console costs more. This game is better because it has this gun.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're having these really like philosophical arguments about the story of BioShock and whether is the game actually about us and are we the puppets and this kind of thing, that kind of thing. I was like, wow, smart discussion is happening on forums. This is mad.
Lock
and
thread.
It's just like lock the thread. I'll just put a troll face in there and be like, hey guys, look at this face. but yeah,
hey guys, look at this face.
Such a good game, and like it's the personality in that game is just overwhelming. Like even the vending machines are awesome in that game. It's like using the circus of values of vending machine, and it brought Pipe Dream back as a mini game, and it's just such a good game. Like I think there's more than enough time has been devoted into how influential and how amazing that game is on the internet. Just type in BioShock feature and you'll see it.
It's revolutionary for game narratives, right?
Yeah.
I do think it probably it leans a bit too heavily on its narrative for some. I mean, I've certainly spoken to a lot of people that just didn't buy into the narrative for whatever reason, and then it just all falls apart after that because there's no no reason to progress if you don't really give a toss about the world.
I thought it was quite bold that it opened with a statement when you finally first enter the facility. There's a sign that comes up that says
no
gods but man, or
no gods or kings.
No gods or kings, only man.
No gods or kings, only man. Yeah, and I thought you really got the impression that you were going to be playing something quite different as soon as you saw that. And I also think that for a AAA game, it's actually really focused. I think it actually shows some of the problems that BioShock Infinite had, where it was trying to be so big and so expansive and so sweeping, and it couldn't quite do it. But with BioShock 1, it was still contained and focused in this small world.
Underwater world.
Yeah, and quite a beautiful one as well. And I thought it just balanced everything quite well when it came to pacing and gameplay.
Yeah, there's aspects of that game that I just really like. I like on a very specific level. Like I could write about, splicers. They're just a weird thing to introduce, and like, almost like seeing a Big Daddy walking outside in the water and being like, wow,
we've not even talked about the relationships of Big Daddies and Little Sisters yet.
Yeah.
Oh Christ, honestly, that was the thing, wasn't it?
Well, the early days of moral decisions in video games, and I mean, you look back now and it looks incredibly primitive, but
or at least unshocking. It was. Do you want to kill this? I guess the question is, do you want to kill this girl?
I wonder if they would. I'm pretty sure. Again, like seeing that in preview build stage, when you did kill the Little Sisters, you saw it, and they
used to try and
in the final game. I wonder if they would have done that differently today.
Well, in the final one, you put your hand on it, and they would if you try and hurt them, they were flinching and moving away, and it was still
uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable because you're manhandling this tiny little girl. But at the same time, you've got this moral decision: do you kill or save this girl? And at the time when you're making the decision, like seconds beforehand, she's been plunging a giant needle into a man and happily sucking out its fluids, and you're like, do I want to save this thing? It's kind of evil.
The question is, do you want to erode your own moral ascendancy?
And then at the same time, it's very slowly introducing the fact that these girls really didn't have a choice. They kind of been forced into it. And then so if you've been killing them up until that point, you're like, oh shit, I've been killing these girls and sacrificing them for my own benefit when they didn't really have a say in the matter or what they became. And it's just such a good gradual change in your own morals and that kind of thing.
I still also remember the first time I fought a Big Daddy. The first time I went, right, let's do this. Let's have a go. And it was just this amazing. I had as much armor as I could. As many weapons and ammo as I could find, as much health as I could find, and I really went for it. And he destroyed me. But still, I love that idea of you don't have to fight this thing, but when you do, you will lose. I just loved it.
The first time I saw them, I followed them around for a bit, and they just wander around stomping, and then they go up to the vent and they bang on it, and then they crawl out the vent, and then the girl just skips along with this giant mammoth killing machine. It's an amazing moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, number 10.
Well
Bioshock.
done, Irrational Games, number 10 of all.
Number
time.
9,
Well, this gen.
a game which was my game of the generation, Mass Effect 2.
Oh, what a game!
Yeah, this was, like I said, my game of the generation. Just absolutely adore it, top to bottom.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of
It
it?
was a peak of the series.
Yeah.
What I love most about it was locations. Well, there's loads of things actually, but locations were just amazing. Just going to like what really felt like completely different planets from one another, and really gave you that sense of adventure, that sense of traveling to different galaxies.
The best thing about that game for me is they nailed the core mechanics and the core structure of the game, which was recruiting your crew and then ensuring their loyalty to you in gearing up for this end game suicide mission.
The suicide.
It's just such a compelling structure.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely.
It's like an intergalactic A team or something. Like,
it is. Yeah.
You know, assembling a crew to go on this impossible mission.
Yeah.
You know, you knew the finale was coming and you just had to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
And it feeds so well into the, you know, keep in mind this is like second chance for them, you know, and they just found this concept that fed so perfectly into their pillars of, you know, having to make lots of moral choices and you know, putting your own stamp in the world and having those consequences feed into the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
That structure of just preparing for this impossible situation is perfect.
Yeah.
Because if you made a wrong decision, then it would hamper your chances of surviving. And obviously at the end mission, I think I've played that in mission like 5 times.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever did finish it with everyone alive.
I got
never
out
could.
with everyone alive, perfectly intact.
I know you bloody did. You probably played it like 10 times.
The amount of times I heard the phrase "assuming direct control," trying to get that.
Assuming direct control.
It's like, oh my god! But I think the characters, a lot of people, like you said this before, and Chris has said this before, but the main issue you have with Metal Gear is that the fact that you don't like relinquishing control for massive periods of time and watching these crazy cutscenes. In that game, I happily sat there and listened to these random people
I don't mind
just talking at me for lengthy periods of time.
It's because they're not cutscenes. You are involved in the cutscenes,
but it's
because
just
you have to react to the world and make choices based on what they're saying.
I was so like anal about going and making sure I got every single piece of information out of each one of those characters.
Yeah,
I did not want to live in a world where I missed something that Thane would tell me. Like if someone turned around and go, "Oh, did you hear him say this?" and it was no, I'd go mad. Like I'd have to sit there and go through every single. I went through dialogue options twice just to make sure that it didn't lead to somewhere else and that kind of thing.
But it wasn't just the expansiveness of the dialogue that was awesome.
Yeah.
Just awesome. It was how amazingly well written that entire story was. And I think you find actually the last few games we have mentioned, Walking Dead, Bioshock, it's all been about really, really strong writing. I think Morden is one of the best characters I've ever come across in a video game. Like, I talked to him so much, he thought I fancied him. He actually said, "Hey, I'm not that." He genuinely said, "I'm not that way inclined, man," because I always went to his lab and went, "All right, mate, how's it going? What are you up to?"
That's like that's the core of Mass Effect as well, right there, right? I mean, the conundrum that he has with is it the Krogans?
Yeah,
the Krogan race,
Yes,
Genophage,
the Genophage
and, how he helps create it, and
amazing,
that's something that just it's like the 24 of space, you know, a completely grey scenario that you have to put your flag in and have a stance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the way it forces you to have a stance as well.
Even the characters that a lot of people might not have seen, like for example, Zaid Masani was one of the DLC characters. So if you didn't buy the special edition, you wouldn't have seen him. But he's just a character that you know, he could have been completely bypassed. But even he was interesting to me. He's like this mercenary, and you have to make this decision for him. Do you let him win his loyalty by letting him exact his revenge, or do you take that away from him, but in the process save these people who are, you know, tangentially involved in some history that he's had? A lot of these people are kind of going to die for no reason, and like that character again, he's Zaid Masani. Like, he's an Arab, basically. It's just like, oh, cool, it's a character that I can relate with and that kind of thing. But like every single character in that game, I absolutely love. Like,
the voice acting was
Yeah.
impeccable. I mean, is it Garrett?
Garrus,
Garrus.
yeah, he's
so
a Korean,
well
so
voice acted.
Even
Like,
so-
it felt like
yeah.
he was right next to you, just chatting to you. It
Yeah,
was so
and-
well done.
And the way he's introduced in that game, first time round, where he's not actually Garrus. Like he's in the first game as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
But he's not Garrus. He's this weird sniper that everyone's trying to kill. And you get there and you're like, holy shit, it's Garrus. And you're like, hey,
Isn't it great that we can talk about a game that's this huge sci-fi epic where there's a giant race of machines coming to destroy the galaxy,
Yeah.
and the most entertaining parts of that game are the personal
Yeah.
loyalty missions where
Yeah.
you delve into the personal problems
That's-
of
yeah.
your crew
and,
members.
and just like
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
factor. There's no game that comes even close to that game on cool factor. Like
Well,
the elusive
oh,
man. The elusive man.
Oh, what
How
an
cool is that
amazing
character?
character.
He sits and he looks out onto a planet which looks like it's exploding. He's like, yeah, I
It's a big star.
yeah, it's a big star. All right, cool. And it's just like, he's such an amazing character. And
Yeah,
other
he
characters like Miranda,
Noob.
like she was super cool as well, like the perfect lady, the perfect woman, and that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
and she was
What's the other female character called? The one with all the tattoos?
Liara.
Is it
Oh
Liara?
no,
Liara.
Jack. You're
Jack,
talking about
that
Jack.
was it. Do you remember the mission where you had to find Jack? You had to go into a
Prison. Yeah,
didn't you?
she's like a crazy.
What's the
bio.
is Mass Effect 2 the one where the Asari has got like a daughter and you have to kill one of them?
Yeah, I think that's one of her loyalty missions, isn't it?
Isn't
you
there
have
some
to pick.
weird relationship
Yeah.
between the two of them? What is it?
Yeah, the mother is like a pariah. I think that's what it was. That when she reaches a certain age, she kills her. Just a car.
No, there's a name for like
Oh God, I remember this now.
a
Yeah, someone came
female
back-
like head of.
Yeah, something.
Matriarch?
Matriarch. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
a matriarch.
I'm sure there's some weird thing. Doesn't a daughter like that's it? A daughter has got some weird genetic thing where
Yeah.
when she has sex with people, they
they die. Yeah,
and she's like doing
Story
it
of my life.
nonchalant. she's doing it nonchalantly, like
Yeah.
and just being really
and you go
selfish,
after her.
like killing people.
Mm.
So you have to make a choice between the two of them.
For the record,
Yeah.
Chris doesn't kill people when
And
he makes love
isn't
to
she?
them.
No,
But isn't the hook like she's
Near
more
lethal.
powerful or something?
Yeah, you could get her, and she'd be a really really powerful biotic.
That was it,
Or
yeah.
you could get her mum, and she's like morally sound,
Yeah, not a
and not
bitch.
gonna like if you try and
If you have
romance her,
sex
you
with her,
won't die.
no death.
Yeah,
Did you just play as male shepherd or female shepherd?
I played as male shepherd.
Male shepherd.
I played as
Yeah.
female shepherd.
Female
And it's
shepherds.
interesting because it doesn't it doesn't discriminate the fact that you're playing as a female. You know what I mean, it's still like this is
Mm.
shepherd, this is still a
Yeah.
badass commander that everyone is still kind of respects, and this is
Yeah.
amazing that it's just.
I think you can have gay relationships in 2, or is it just 3?
I think it
it's
might
two.
just be free.
Oh right,
Two?
okay.
Sure, you can do it in one as well.
I don't know.
Well, it
Well, I
depends.
still
Does
think
that,
it's
does,
pretty awesome that you can have gay relationships in this.
Yeah,
series
it's
as
just
well.
a-
It's such a
yeah.
BioWare thing, isn't it?
yeah.
I think and
They're so gay. Bioware. Such a
oh,
Bioware thing.
Bioware, it's okay.
No, I mean, as in, like, they really do appreciate diversity and equal rights for everyone, and they want to represent that in their games.
in my mind too as well, the world that they've established, the universe, it's like, and as far as sci-fi universes go, I think it's on par with Star Wars, on par with Star Trek.
Jesus
It's
Christ,
like Star
that
Wars,
is-
Star Trek. In fact, I'd place that as
That
like
is-
almost on a
Bold.
It's
after-
a big
after
conversation to have on there.
post the original trilogy. Like Star Wars has very sharply declined, and
Yeah.
it's become watered down, and it's the quality of it is just so uneven in different aspects. Whereas Mass Effect, regardless of what you think of the final game, it's consistently, I think it's the best sci-fi universe out there. Better than Star Wars. And I'm quite a big Star Wars.
That's a whole other podcast.
Let's move on.
But no,
Suck
I
it,
mean,
Star Wars fans.
I mean, it is amazing though, that
Yeah.
whole universe. What number are we
The
on
next
now?
one just says LOL. All right. So we are on number 8 now.
Bit of trolling
Yeah, a
there.
little bit of
Oh,
trolling
yeah.
there. Got confused. Number 8, Rob's favorite game of all time, Journey.
Oh, great! Yeah. If you didn't watch the last 6 hours, listen to the last 6 hours of the podcast. Basically, there's a running joke in the office that I hate Journey.
Why do you hate
Can't
Why
be
do
a-
you hate
can't
it?
be a
I don't
joke,
understand.
it can't
How
be a
could it
joke
have
if
made
it's
it
true.
Amazing
It's not a
thing
joke if
seven
it's true.
Is that I guess the reason why it is funny is because there's no factual basis
It's
for the joke.
100%
It's
fact.
just
Listen,
a
we're
random...
journalists.
Damage
We
control.
only deal in
Damage
fact.
control. Yeah.
Exactly.
We only deal
Like
in facts.
they've created smoke with no fire, and I guess that's what's funny about it. But
There's
I
a
think-
fire alarm every Monday because of the smoke.
Because it's like, you know, that it detects
Coming from Rob's
yeah, it
life.
detects Rob's bad thoughts about
It's
Journey.
burning
I
hatred.
really think Journey's a great game.
Yeah,
Dude, you
we've
despise it.
discussed at length about Journey, but it's just one of those really short,
Mm.
really memorable, touching kind of experience.
Not many games can gift you as a user with an experience that Journey did. Something that just defines the medium for you. And you know, I'll never forget playing that game for the first time and just bumping into another player and then just following them, and there's no instructions and there's no like abusive voice chat, there's not even a name, it's just another avatar, and you feel compelled to follow them and go on the journey together, and there's no instruction whatsoever.
That game,
What a beautiful moment. I'll remember that in games forever.
That
Again,
game-
mingle player.
it restored my kind of faith in gamers. Like we've come to a point where you go online in a game and 90% chance you're getting cussed out and your mum's going to be insulted. But what they did, like it's effectively them saying, look, when you boil it down to it, if you give them the bare basics, gamers are still kind of nice people, and they're at heart. They take away all these kind of new fandangled like communication methods like voice and text and that kind of thing, and they say when you go back to basics, these are good people.
But isn't it also saying that when you actually make a game where people have to help each other, they become nice people,
Yeah, I guess
rather
so.
than a game where they have to kill?
That's
each
not-
I
other?
think
mean,
it's
like,
actually
there's
it's
no
actually
obligation.
impossible to troll anyone in Journey.
Yeah.
Can you?
I think
I'll
it's
find a way.
untrollable.
Let me add it, I'll find a way.
Well, you could go and stand in the middle of nowhere and just keep doing the chirping noise and lure
just-
people to you and be like, "There's nothing here," and then bounce.
I just love the fact that in this generation, PS3's had all these kind of almost spiritual kind of games. You've had Journey, you've had Flower, you've had Leisure Suit Larry, where people can. No, I mean, where people always talk about how violent games are, you can just point at those.
I love that Sony make these kind of games,
Yeah.
commission these kind of games.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Are they doing? Have they said if they're doing a PS4 version? So they've done Flower and they've done what the other PS Flow they're doing.
Well, yeah, they're all
And,
already cross by.
What's that Vita launch game? The
Well,
black and white one.
the ones that are already out are Escape
Plan?
Plan,
Escape Plan.
Journey.
Escape Plan.
No, not Journey. Escape Plan, Flower,
Flow.
Flow, and Sound Shapes.
Are they doing
Oh.
Journey?
They should be.
They
doing
probably
Journey.
will be doing Journey.
I'll
Yeah.
play the shit out of that on PS4.
I mean, I guess, by the way, I should say I do think Journey is quite overrated. It's a great
Well,
game.
there we go.
Wow,
Here we
there we
go.
go. Here we go.
I'm
It's
just-
coming
I'm just
out
saying,
now.
I'm
Needs-
just saying,
needs
I
more
understand.
headshots.
I understand why people love it. It's
Give them
because
10 minutes and it'll be
it's because-
racism.
it's because-
Is it because she's wearing a veil? Is that your issue with it?
it's because it is massively in contrast to what everything people play, because everything, people play lots of violent games, lots of action heavy games, and I understand that people really appreciate the relief. When people start saying it's like a spiritual game, something inside me
It
starts.
hasn't even got deathmatch.
No, it's
There's
just
no RPG
I'm
element.
just
There's
trying
not
to
a
say.
single
I'm just trying to
bullet in that
say.
game.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say that
The weapons
it's
are
not.
shit.
It's not as intelligent as people say. It's not.
But
as
doesn't it to be intelligent? By spiritual,
I don't mind if it's not
It's me that-
intelligent. I don't mind if it's not intelligent.
I know,
I
but-
just don't like that people say it is intelligent when it isn't intelligent.
But spiritual
It's-
doesn't necessarily mean intelligent. Spiritual means that you can sit and look at
Fine.
a really nice environment
Fine.
and be in touch with your.
nor
your
spiritual. I don't
appreciation
think.
for-
Yeah. Nor do I think it's spiritual. I think it's a really, really good game.
Wow.
But that's it. The same way Mario is a really, really good
If Jonathan
game.
Blow had made it, you would have been all over it.
You'd be blowing it off. I think there's a spiritual sense in that you can appreciate these amazing environments that while they're.
I don't know how that distinguishes it from other games. Like,
It just
in
does.
any other game where you appreciate. I mean, we've just talked about, I don't know, Bioshock, Walking Dead.
It's like you can't sit back
Assassin's
and
Creed.
appreciate like the
You
world
can.
and the place of Far Cry, because it's like, go here, unlock a parachute.
Well,
Go here,
I mean,
shoot this dude.
I can appreciate the world of Los Santos.
Spamming your HUD, it's actually impossible because you just can't. Even you'll sit and appreciate
Do
Los
you guys
Santos,
mean-
and your
do you
phone
guys
will
mean
go
it's
and
the
it'll go and do
elegance?
this mission. Go over here, kill this guy, get your hair cut.
Right.
It's appreciating the
you know,
beauty.
it's an
of
attack on the
things. I mean,
senses.
I realise there's a lot of.
Do you mean it's
world-
the elegance in that it's not, it's not stuffed, it's not overly cooked, it's not heavy, it's just quite.
It's just you in an environment without any other shit.
It's like a good book. It lets you take from it whatever you want.
Exactly.
and perceive it in a number of ways.
And ultimately, what you want
I mean,
to take from
I've
it is pure
spoken-
hatred.
No, I just don't think.
I've spoken to
I
people.
don't think it does that.
I've spoken to people that describe this game as a moment of clarity. Like, that's what it feels like to them. And when someone uses that phrase to describe a game, I think that's borderline spiritual or a spiritual moment for them. Like, it affects them on that level.
They go down a slide, a pretty slide, walk past a giant snake.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Walk up a snowy mountain and then fly in the air.
Oh,
Yeah,
man,
right?
but
that's a
you
very
could
effective
Yeah,
way
boil
of being
sit up
effective.
at anything.
down to the
All
primitive
I'm saying
mechanics.
is, it's not like you're reading the Dubliners. Do you know what I mean? It's
Well, you wouldn't want to because that's pretty outrageous at times. The
Well,
bit when the old guy
my
kinda
point- my
It's like
point
got
is-
snakes and slides in it.
It's got a
Yeah.
rather
no.
outrageous scene in a bathroom.
I'm just saying, it is a beautiful, great game. I really like it. I love looking at it. I just don't understand this obsession with it being a spiritual.
It is
intelligent
spiritual
game, 'cause I
because
don't
you
think it
meet
is.
strangers and you go on an adventure.
I
Real
don't know how
people.
that's spiritual.
Journey's more
I don't
spiritual
know
than
how that's
Dublin.
When's the
spiritual.
last time you met
Go
a stranger
on
when on an
MSN.
adventure?
Go on MSN. and
What?
watch-
Go on MSN and what?
This
Go,
guy.
hello, can I have Tamor Hussein at hotmail.com? Shall we go on?
Why did you just give away
Well,
my email?
I just don't know.
When was the last time you experienced bumping into a stranger in a desert and then just going on an adventure together without any, any
yeah.
instruction?
I just think it was a little bit William Wordsworth. It was a little bit
It has
twee.
no words in it.
Well, considering a guy, you just said James, you're just quoting
Yeah,
James
because
Joyce.
Wordsworth was a piece of shit. It was no, because he
What?
was. He really was. So it's a little bit twee. It's a little bit self-important. It's portentous. But at the same time, it is a very pretty, very fun game, and I'm glad I played it.
But what we've established is Rob is
When I
racist
finished
and
that
he's jealous
game
that he
and
had
it
the main
listed all the
journey.
people that I'd just experienced a 2-hour journey with,
Yeah.
that was a spiritual moment.
Yeah, I wanted
Rob,
I-
just why don't you just use Snapchat?
Why don't you just go on
Or
Slack,
just-
go
or
chat-
read a
chat
book,
roulette.
chat
or watch a
roulette.
film.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
It's
listen
like,
to an
it's
album.
basically chat roulette to me. I don't understand. Like, it doesn't have as many penises. so
Slightly
it's-
lesser. Johnny has a slightly less
Got just
erotic
as many
version.
snakes.
There's a slightly less erotic version of chat.
There's a point, when it shows you at the end who you've been with, who you've been
who you've slept with.
adventuring with. When it shows you at the end, like, these are the players, I thought, you know what, I'd really like to talk to this guy now.
Yeah,
I
these
want
are
to
my-
speak
These
to
are
that
now
person.
my bros.
Yeah.
We've
but you
experienced it
can't.
together.
Yeah.
Mike Jackson, this was his game of the generation. He said the game with the least substance on this list, and yet it's one that means the most to me emotionally. You either get it or you don't, but if you do, Journey is unforgettable, and Rob the Racist doesn't get it. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know where race. I don't know where race came into this. But to be honest, because we're lying, can we not say I'm racist as a joke? Because it's a bit serious.
Just say it as a fact.
Yeah, it's not. It's
Sean Prescott thought highly of it as well. He said the first time I completed this game along with a new friend, in quotation marks, I shed a tear.
There you go. That's spiritual.
Rob's just not having any of it.
Rob's close to shed.
I'm going to make a video game where I basically
No, you're not.
animate a lava lamp to an Enya soundtrack, and I think I will get the same.
That's not going to do anything.
That is just what are you on about?
You're just talking shit now.
You can't. What is it? Is there another player
Because-
in
no,
this
okay,
lava lamp? Do you experience
just,
this lava lamp with someone else?
abstract, colourful art to an emotional soundtrack, and suddenly a load of gamers are crying about
It's
it.
about communicating with
I hate
people.
Journey.
There we go.
Let's move on.
Jesus Christ.
We've broke him down.
Number seven. So I told you it would come out. It'd get exposed
Took
thoroughly.
longer than the 10 minutes we expected, but we got it.
I had a great time playing it.
Yeah,
Can't wait for the NeoGaf Fred on this. Number 7.
Don't say that.
Number 7. A revolutionary game. Wii Sports.
Yeah.
Amazing.
On the revolution.
It deserves to be where it is for the same reason I said Journey. I took something from it that really defined games for me, and I'll never ever forget for the rest of my life that Christmas when all of my extended family, from 5 to 65, all stood around the television or sat around the television and played video games together. And I remember that moment of clarity, thinking back to all the Christmases where I would have been the weird kid.
Yeah.
Go and put him in a corner with his games console. What's he doing? And we'd made it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
after 20. Well, it was like we're at similar age. For 20 years, we've wanted our hobby to be given some sort of credibility and to be respected. And finally, that Christmas.
Not be a
Like,
margin.
people that looked at us funny and thought we were doing a weird thing got it and respected it
Yeah,
and acknowledged
yeah.
it.
And,
It was
and people don't,
acknowledgement.
as Rob said in the shortlist voting, people don't give it enough credit as well as a video game, as a
Yeah.
form, as a piece of creation, that it is so
Yeah.
accessible and it's so immediately entertaining. Because after Wii Sports, which is if you don't, obviously it was bundled with a console, but if you include it, it's the best-selling game of all time.
Yeah.
It was such a huge phenomenon that absolutely everyone in the industry fell over themselves to try and imitate it. I mean, obviously Microsoft changed direction completely and introduced the Kinect, and then
Connect
you know,
Sports.
obviously Sony then brought in the Move, and everyone were trying to imitate the Wii phenomenon, which was
Yeah,
inspired by
yeah.
Wii Sports. And yet no one has managed to come anywhere close to matching it. And
Yeah.
when I was at E3, our hotel bar, and you can go to any bars in America and they'll have it as a legitimate piece of pop culture entertainment. In the corner there's a projection screen with Wii Sports. Come and play
Great.
Wii Sports, as if it's a jukebox or if it's a arcade machine or a pool table.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to say it was almost too influential for its own good. I think it
completely
had a
agree.
massive role in the decline of the Wii's and subsequently the Wii U's popularity, because it's an echo of the 80s when Pac-Man and Space Invaders started the arcade boom, and then when they came on the Atari 2600, the atrocious ports of Pac-Man and E.T. and all the led to the video game crash, because lots of people were jumping on the bandwagon and totally wrecking it. Whereas now it repeated with the Wii, where Wii Sports was the pinnacle and that was the boom. And you got all these third-party developers coming
Carnival
out.
Games.
Exactly, coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
With Carnival Games,
Wii
a
Play.
million different party games and sports games, plastic instruments, like all this kind of shit.
I just don't know
The-
why people would stop playing Wii Sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
everyone,
I think
in-
a lot of people didn't buy a Wii. They bought a
ultimately-
Wii and Wii Sports and they left it at that.
Yeah, and ultimately a lot of people, a lot of other people said, okay, we're done with Wii Sports, what's next? Here's another sports game which looks kind of the same. Here's Big Beach Sports, let's try that. This is dog shit. Here's Carnival Games, let's try that. This is dog shit.
Every
Okay, we're
Christmas
done with
since
the Wii.
2006, I've played Wii Sports with my family at Christmas,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this Christmas I will play Wii Sports with my
I
family.
think
at Christmas.
what I love
Yeah.
about that game most is you very, very quickly stop paying attention to the game itself. It's like we're used to having these kind of fiddly, complex mechanics, but on a base level, Wii Sports, a part of its success is that it's so simple to play, and it was motion control gaming at its most rudimentary, but that was also its strongest asset.
Because it was fair.
You swing it like very quickly.
Yeah.
Like most of the people that I played with, they weren't looking at the game. They knew how to play tennis. They knew like if I roughly swing like this, it will take care of the rest of it. They were looking at each other. They're looking at the person they're playing against and having fun with that. Like, and often when I give that game to play to my friends and family, I wouldn't even look at the screen. I'd sit next to the TV and just look directly at my friends, because it was just like getting to see how much fun they were having with the game, and not have without any roadblocks to enjoying it, and no complications. Just hand them this thing and let them play. It's just one of the most amazing.
Absolutely.
It's kind of
parts
it's
of
been
that
carried
game and
on
this
by
generation.
Just Dance. It's a Just Dance effect, whereas like it's odd in that gamers like we know we have figured out the intricacies of the Wii remote, and that we know that inherently the game isn't actually that accurate. That when you're playing golf, it doesn't really matter how you swing it. When you're playing tennis, you can just sit and flick your wrist and it does the same thing. But it doesn't matter. Just like in Just Dance, it's not really measuring how well you dance. People don't give a shit as long as they're enjoying it. So Just Dance is kind of the evolution of Wii Sports.
The game has really helped me personally as well. I have a friend who is a programmer and plays guitar, and plays video games all the time. His name's John, and he's got a really bad RSI now,
Right.
and he can't. I can't play Street Fighter with him anymore. And
Yeah.
it used to be like growing up with him.
Because you got really aggressive.
Let's start
You weren't
shouting
sharp
at him.
about Journey the entire time.
Yeah, we were sharp about Jenny. But every Saturday we would get drunk together and play, I don't know, fucking Street Fighter or whatever.
Amazing.
And we couldn't for a long time. But this Saturday, I was playing bowling with him on Wii Sports on the Wii U version of it, because everyone's got like a million Wii U controllers in their house, and we just had loads of vodka.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, it's like it's just such an amazing simple game that anyone can play.
Yeah.
And I think it's really useful for people if they've got RSI and stuff like that as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. While it might be number 7 on our list of games generation,
But it's
probably
number
the
1 in
most
our hearts.
influential game of this generation.
Yeah, it's the only game. I mean, it
Single-handedly.
was released in 2005, and I still play it to this day.
Number 6 on our
Jesus.
list of best games of this generation is a shooter called Call of Duty 4 Modern
I'm
Warfare.
glad that wasn't top 5.
Wow.
Delighted.
Why?
Because
'Cause he's a hater.
fuck off.
What
No,
are
no,
you
no,
on
no.
about?
Have you
It's
played
not
it?
only
No,
is it one of
I-
the most entertaining games like I've played in years and years, it's also one of the most influential, if not
Yeah.
the most
This is
influential.
our
of the
generation's
last
GoldenEye.
10 years.
It's got slides.
I agree.
It's got
I agree it should be. It's just I just hate what it's become, but I appreciate why. Call
We're
of
not
Duty-
talking about
what do you not like about
No,
it?
I know.
Well,
That's why.
Let's
That's
not
why I
talk about
appreciate
what we
Fortune.
don't like
No,
about
I
it.
appreciate
This is
it,
a
that's
game
why.
of
This
generation.
is a game
No,
of the
I appreciate
generation.
it. Fair enough.
So let's Dan Dawkins has written a paragraph by it, so I'm going to read aloud as if I'm reading a magazine. He says, it's amusing that a series that has become a byword for formulaic commercialism should spawn from one of the most subversive and influential games of the generation. Call of Duty 4 single player broke every rule, putting you in control during scenes where you played the inert victim, genuinely challenging your morality and expectations, like the harrowing Sergeant Jackson death scene, and creating the multiplayer template with its irresistible, scientifically balanced mechanics that defined an online generation. Perks, XP, prestige. I no longer play COD, but only a fool would dismiss its legacy.
Similarly, Mike Jackson says Call of Duty has become the punch bag for those in opposition to annualized sequels full of recycled content, and rightly so. But let's think back before it became what it is today. Call of Duty 4 had Hollywood action set pieces, smooth visuals, and snappy gameplay that was way ahead of anything else at the time. It was a masterpiece, and I agree with that. Everyone here knows, like I was a PC shooter guy. Like Counter-Strike is my game. Like I was PC Master Race Prime. Like if you're telling me to play a shooter on consoles, I would dismiss it. It's not possible. GoldenEye was an anomaly. Like Time Splitters I never got on with, but this game it made me feel like yes, the shooters are possible, and they're possible really
I'd say
well.
Call of Duty 4 was the first console shooter. I'd say everything else was derivative of PC shooters.
Yeah.
Whereas Call of Duty 4 said, well, no, fuck it. Let's make something that's fits for what we have, a joypad.
While I don't agree with that,
No game is it more fun to shoot. Shooting in that game and reactions. That's what it's about. It is fun. It feels fun and responsive and snappy to shoot. Whereas PC shooters are about aiming and being precise, and stuff like that. They're not about the banned word visceral and the tactile feel of firing a gun. Reactions.
Well, I personally still think GoldenEye was the first console shooter. But that being said,
have you played it recently?
Yeah, but
It doesn't fit. No, what Andy's saying is it doesn't fit as snugly onto a console as it's kind of.
I disagree. But
what parts of it?
Yeah, I disagree with that. But with Call of Duty, I think there were so many amazing moments in that game. Is it Pripyat? The ghillie suit.
Yeah.
Just that whole mission was just absolutely incredible, and
With the ghillie suits.
yeah, with the ghillie suits,
Awesome.
Yeah, I was in the beta for that on console before it came out, and I was the multiplayer beta, and I was completely hooked. Like I was like telling my friends who weren't in the beta, just like, this is going to be incredible. It's going to be massive. It is so good, and I was hooked. I played it so long that there was a period where I missed meals like completely. It turned out when I look back, I'd been fasting for about 20 hours or something like that. And I just completely forgot about everything around me, utterly addicted to that game. And when it came out, it didn't stop. Carried on playing again.
I know
again,
the
again.
multiplayer gets a lot of love, but the single player was incredible as well. The set pieces, just the way the NPCs were positioned and where you were sort of pinned down, you had to fight your way out. I just thought
the even stuff like simple things like one entire mission was just about firing a sniper rifle once. But you had to be perfect with your shot.
You had to be perfect.
And, you needed to factor in the gravitational pull of the earth the sway of wind and that kind of thing. And there's a flag nearby that you can see just to keep an eye on how the wind is moving. And you can nail this guy first time round, otherwise shit goes bad quickly. Yeah. Just amazing game.
And that nuke that went off when that was their first, because obviously it's more an action movie simulator now, isn't it? And I guess the first hints of that was when you were flying off in that helicopter. Your mission was completed.
Mm.
You thought, oh my God, I got out alive. And that nuke went off. And you were like, oh my God, we're not going to win.
Yeah.
We're not
And then
gonna
I don't think it gets enough credit, but the music in that game was really, really good. Really subtle. It was done by Harry Gregson Williams, who's Metal Gear composer for a while.
Oh, right.
And it is his style to the point where I've told you guys that you can swap that game out for Metal Gear 3 soundtrack and it fits in perfectly. But it's just so well done. Never intrusive to your experience, but it was always heightening the action, like in the background. You'll notice it after it happened. You'll be like, oh, once you're coming down from the rush, you're like, wow, the music played a big part of that, and it's just such a good like execution of audio.
And believe it or not, there was a time when people thought it was quite a good idea to set a game in the Middle East. Like, it was an interesting, because of what was happening in the real world, it was an interesting setting.
Yeah,
Like, that's been done to death, but it was really interesting. Some locations.
Great game.
Wow, so what are we on now?
Number 5, top 5 games, CVG's top 5 games of this generation. And number 5, it is The Last of Us.
I expected that to be higher.
Yeah, I expected it to be much higher, but I mean, top 5.
Higher than 5?
Higher than 5?
Yeah, because that kind of
I
Tomb Raider
think,
effect.
I think
in
whenever
that is
people
recent.
have said that during this list, they don't know what's above it.
Yeah,
Whereas I
yeah.
do, and I
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
well, no, it shouldn't be higher than
Yeah.
that, because the games that are above it are even better. The Last of Us is my favourite PS3 game, easy. I absolutely adored it. It's one of those rare games where it's difficult to argue that it's too video gamey in places. It perfectly merges mechanics with narrative.
Yeah.
Like, whenever you fire a gun, you feel like you have to fire that gun. You've been forced into the situation. It feels like a decision when you shoot a gun. Same when you swing, you feel every hit. You know, when you swing a pipe at someone, and you feel attachment to Ellie, and the ending was really powerful, and the place it felt like a real place when you were exploring around these empty townships.
Yeah.
And
Just so startlingly beautiful. At
and the
moments.
soundtrack is just
Soundtrack's
stunning.
amazing.
Yeah.
I think I've got parts of Last of Us's gameplay. They've rubbed me the wrong way, but what I love about that game is just the interactions between it's the Uncharted 2 Tenzin moment spread out throughout the entire, just the
I
way.
think that was the inspiration.
Yeah, and the first time like you kill an enemy in front of Ellie, and she's like, "Holy shit, Joel!"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Whoa, this girl's actually paying attention to me, and she's actually a person that is going to be affected by the things that are happening around her and what I'm doing." And the way you kind of speak to her and the backs and forths with her, and the way she discovers
I know it's a cliche,
things.
but by the end of the game, I felt like I knew her.
Yeah, and there's stuff like this is weird things like she's not experienced like boy bands and movies, and she's reading about them, and she's like completely in awe with stuff like music and cinema. It's just so fascinating to see this like essentially a baby with you, and it's just amazing.
When she just hunts the deer in the snow, that's one of the greatest moments in games.
Yeah, that coming of age. Like, who would have thought that you would play? You know, you're looking after this annoying brat
So
around
simple.
you.
So
Yeah.
you know the GIF with Banderas.
Yeah,
Just biting his fist. That's just perfect for that moment. if I could audibly like broadcast that GIF.
It's like it does so much so well and so near perfectly that you forgive it the flaws it has, because
Few
elements
bits
of
here and
the
there.
stealth stuff is a bit fucked. And the combat, I'd personally.
A lot of people
I'm not
say that,
too
but is there any bits in the game where you have to be stealthy?
no, but
The problem is it
advised.
gives you the illusion of stealth. It tells you can do this, but you can't actually do it.
But I don't think it did. I thought the whole point was it was supposed to be, the halfway house mode in the new Splinter Cell, the Predator mode, where it's like basically you're just sneaking so that you can deck someone from behind.
But if there are
that
enemies,
was the point of
but
it.
if there are enemies whose sole property is that they don't notice you if you don't make a sound, then that implies that stealth is an option.
Yeah,
but when you're trying to be as quietly as possible, and she's fucking wrecking the joint,
Yeah.
She's fucking wrecking the
and
joint.
nothing's
Which she
happening,
does
do you know what I mean?
regularly,
Yeah,
to be
but the
fair.
thing-
and they don't react.
The thing
to
is,
it.
that's such a nitpicky thing to.
No, but it
I
shatters
really
the
wish that I
issue.
really wish that the AI fucked up the game.
No,
for
but
me.
no, but it shatters.
Oh, I mean,
but it
Chris is
shatters
right. There's
the-
points where in my game where she was standing direct, she's taking
Oh, yeah,
cover
I've
in
had
front
that
of
million
enemies,
times. Yeah, guys,
and they're
just
looking
walk through it,
directly
yeah.
at her, and
It
no one's doing anything.
breaks the illusion. That is all I'm saying. But what my general point was that you forgive those things because everything else it does is perfect. It's like if the Beatles were suddenly resurrected and gave the most amazing live performance of all time as the reformed
You wouldn't
Beatles,
care that they're zombies.
if George Harrison hits one wrong note, you're not going to say that was fucking shit. You let them off.
Yeah,
with
you'd
it
be like,
because
oh my
everything
god,
else-
it's the Beatles.
Yeah,
I think the combat was the weakest element of it, but as you say, everything else was just done so amazingly.
Really, the boss battle against as Ellie when you're
Just
in
a lot of spoilers. Yeah.
the boss battle as Ellie in the restaurant, was it? I think it was.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
awesome.
That was just utterly terrifying, and also like it was a moment of empowerment at the end where she loses it and she's like, yes, I'm a little girl, but I just wrecked your shit, and she's like going mental, and then Joel has to stop her.
It's
Such an
a
amazing
great game.
moment.
Like, I know you guys disagree, but just moments like that, moments with Deer, where the characters grew with every single mission.
Yeah.
After that game, the thought of going back to Uncharted just is completely, utterly unappealing now. It feels like going back to silent films.
I think it's more like going from a serious drama to a blockbuster.
But everyone always says that, and I just think it's just letting it off a bit.
I think it's going
Fair
from
enough.
Why
like
can't you have a blockbuster that has, character and
Well, I
place
think this was a
and
very-
sense of place rather than just feel like a theme park attraction?
I think this was in particular a very dark story about trying to find your place in a world that has abandoned you, and that is what was so amazing about Joel in that all he was looking out for in the end. This is a big spoiler. All he was looking out for in the end was himself.
Yeah.
But that's because he was a product of that world. How could you not look out for yourself in that world? The life abandoned him. His daughter died in front of him.
I feel like it's like we're comparing Independence Day with The Dark Knight.
no, it's
Like,
like
yeah.
It's moved on. I don't think they're two different things. I just think we're letting off Independence Day
fair
because it's a blockbuster.
Yeah.
No, we've just moved on.
I mean, I laughed a lot during Uncharted
Yeah.
2, and I loved the character, and I just thought it was just bloody awesome.
I think
But
it's worth saying like the acting in that game is incredible.
Which
like,
one?
The, Last of Us.
yeah,
Because like when I started that game, I knew what happens in the opening segment of that game, how it
Oh, that
unfolds,
sucks.
but even still, knowing what it was happening, what was coming, I was still kind of.
I know people
I was
who cried
affected.
during that.
I was
opening as well.
affected by
It's
it
a
because
cliche.
Yeah, because the way it happens is just so stark. It didn't come out like video games would do it. Like characters would emotionally react like, oh no.
there was a real sense of
It
terror.
was like you could hear. It was like a person. This happened to a real person,
yeah.
and it was just like so affecting.
When you were running along the streets with everyone else barefoot, there was a real sense of panic.
it was clever that for just the first few minutes you thought it put you in charge of her. It put you in control of her like, from the start of the game.
yeah.
So
And
just
the way you
first-
built up
yeah.
as well, like the amount of the connection there, the strength of the connection establishes in so little time at the beginning, like. It's incredible how they managed to do that. You come in and she's just talking to you, and it's her birthday. And it's just so many cliches, but because the acting,
The acting was great.
yeah, the acting
writing was
sells it. It's like
fantastic.
not only is it a young girl, you know it's gonna happen. It's her birthday. She's very vulnerable, and it's like they built her to be this giant target, basically.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they do it in a way that, and they act it and they write it in a way that just utterly sells it, that relationship, and the bond is there instantly.
The music is fantastic.
I think the thing we didn't touch on that I said before as well, you know how everyone highlighted that E3 before, just how violent it is. But I think the thing that separates it from other games is that it feels like there is a necessity behind every time you pull the trigger or hit someone or do anything, like a brutal finishing move. It feels like it's a really necessary, horrible evil. You feel every punch.
Yeah, it's not like a Splinter Cell either, where you're killing just humans. Do you know what I mean? It's like most of the things you're killing are like mutations. Do you know what I mean?
But
It's like a necessity. It's like kill or be killed type thing.
Yeah.
At the same time, the actual fights against humans it doesn't happen that often. Like when it happens, it's so stark as well, and they really focus in on making it as stark as possible. There's no music. It's just the sounds of like feet scuttling and grunting and heavy breathing and stuff shattering. And
I thought that hearing
it's
mechanic was excellent.
it was
When
the
it
gamiest part of it. Like you could hear,
And yet it was also
And it made sense
very
as well,
gamey.
yeah.
You know, it made complete sense. It feels like nearly every part of that game was just a perfect meld of narrative and game.
And there's points where like the most fun I had in that game is, or the most tense I've been in that game is when I was stealthing around and I'd miss something, like I missed an enemy on a patrol, and it very quickly escalated, like shit that escalated quickly. Like, you turn around, there's a guy there. He throws, like, you have to throw a brick at him quickly and try and vault over some cover, try and get away.
What a simple mechanic as well. What other game makes it fun to like collect bricks? And I'm all right. I've got a brick. Such a simple and yet, I mean,
the way
it's really satisfying to modify like a 2x4 with like a nail or something. There's scissors, isn't it? And you just stick it in there.
Not many games make you feel stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I remember just being utterly gutted when we got to the hospital on the campus and there was like no one there, you know?
That game, it does the skin of the teeth moment. Like, I just got away by the skin of my... It does that repeatedly, constantly. And it doesn't like degrade in effect. It's just every time you feel like breathe a sigh of relief after every skirmish.
Yeah.
I could talk about this forever.
It's like this generation's Ico. I think it's magnificent.
Number 4, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Whoa! I expected it to be higher. I expected it to be higher.
Maybe if Mr. GTA, Daniel Dawkins, hadn't have put it number 7 in his all-time list.
Oh my God!
Shots fired! Shots
Been
fired!
higher. What does he say? He says,
this is shit.
Not really into it. They make me GTA 5. If Call of Duty 4 set the tone for the generation, GTA 5 delivered the debrief. The culmination of 7 years of advances in visuals, AI, stat progression, third-person mechanics and decision-making, infused through one of the most vibrant worlds of the generation.
Yeah, 7th, though.
GTA 5 o'clock. Credibility ruined.
GTA 7 o'clock.
Yeah. GTA 5 got his 6 other games we'd rather play. Wait, we are really laying into this guy.
Let's go back to Rob. Rob, this is a game that you incessantly chat on about.
Yeah, I go on and on about this game.
Makes you red, like you actually go red when you talk.
Was
about
this your number 1?
It was my number 2.
Just to put some weight on it for anyone listening. You've 100%ed this game, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've not just played it for a length of time.
This is the man
this isn't the typical Rob Closley.
Yeah, 5 minutes. No,
it's not even like an iPhone game. This game's big.
Yeah. This is the game where he actually played it, start to finish.
This is why Rob's here.
Yeah. It's so easy.
This is your moment. Everyone else turn off your mic.
This is my moment.
This is a lot of pressure.
This is it, Rob. You need to go bring this bad boy home.
Take it home.
It's really good.
Yeah, there he is.
It's got driving and shooting and
all of the things Journey ain't.
I think probably the most surprising thing about this game is that Rockstar, they obviously make amazing sandbox games, but none of them have ever been beautiful. I mean, Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City was pretty. San Andreas was huge. Liberty City was, accurate in terms of detailing.
So you're not counting Red Dead, 'cause that's not Rockstar North.
Yeah, exactly. But GTA 5 was from every angle, and this sounds unimaginable, but from every angle it was utterly beautiful. The city was beautiful at night. The countryside was beautiful during the day. The sunset in the ocean was beautiful.
The strip clubs.
The strip clubs were beautiful. The view from Vinewood during sunrise was beautiful. Going underwater was this amazing, beautiful journey into like history. There were giant planes submerged miles underwater. This, forgotten now, There was a spaceship. Well, forget the spaceship, but there are just amazing relics of
just nothing.
past
Nothing was
tragedies.
out of place. It's just an utterly consistent vision.
Yeah.
That Rockstar North are perfect at, absolute masters. Look at how many people have thrown money and thrown men and teams at trying to emulate GTA's success and haven't come anywhere close to this.
Yeah,
As a sense of place, and a theme. It's just utterly perfect and consistent. It's what, they should get a lot of credit for the fact that it's also thoroughly entertaining.
That's
that
absolutely
game.
right. Yeah.
None of it is boring. It's my favourite GTA by a margin.
Yeah.
I think unlike
Same
the other
here.
GTAs, there'd be a lot of the game would feel like work in between the
That's right,
entertainment. You know,
yeah.
you'd always have
Yeah.
your is it 4-leaf clover, the mission in GTA 4?
Yeah.
But to get to that, you'd have to do loads of shit like driving people to the shops.
And you have to be there
it's
at a
just like-
certain time at night or whatever.
Yeah, it's none of that, and it's all like
Yeah.
it understands pacing and it understands variety, and you know you'd be racing in some supercars you've nicked from some rich kids one minute, and then you'd be assassinating a guy coming out of a hotel with a sniper rifle another.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They nail the fun this time, and the checkpointing. It's just they looked at every single mission and they got rid of all the boring ones. They said, let's just do the ones that are fun. And I think actually, when you look at the difference between GTA 4 and GTA 5, what we've had is a revolution in smartphone games, which is immediate, instant fun. And they've realised the reason why people love that is because they don't want to mess around. They don't want to fuck around. So on GTA 5, if you go to a location and you have to be there at midnight, once you hit the location, time will pass to midnight.
And you
for
know what's utterly crucial to that factor? There will never be another GTA with a single protagonist again. It's utterly perfect.
They really work.
I've crashed my car. I've got to run back. No, I'm
No,
going
you
to
don't.
switch to this dude who's
Yeah.
in a fucking jet above the desert having a shootout. And then I'm going to do something
Yeah.
with him. Then I'm going to go to that other guy.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. It just adds to the variety and it just kills all of the silent moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just love the fact that when GTA 4 came out, it raised the bar, and since from that moment, all the other developers were trying to reach that bar. So you had stuff like Mafia 2, you had Saints Row 3rd,
Yeah,
like getting right up, and just as they were about to hit the bar,
Yeah.
GTA 5 came out and just fucking blew it into the sun.
Yeah,
It's like, right,
yeah.
try and reach it now.
Yeah,
So
that absolutely.
They've not even touched the new consoles yet.
No.
This is it
Yeah.
feels like I remember God of War 2 coming out at the end of the PS2, and
interesting
it was
comparison,
better than any PS3 launch game.
Yeah,
Like it looked
absolutely.
better than any PS3 launch
Yeah.
game.
I think it
GTA
looks
5
next-gen-ish.
is like, that's the next gen game this Christmas.
Next-gen-ish.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I grant you, it is low poly because they have somehow delivered this amazingly beautiful world that doesn't need any loading screens, which is kind of insane because you can drive anywhere. But you know, it does feel next gen with regards to that. To have something that pretty with that beautiful lighting, so expansive yet no loading screens jumping in between it.
Yeah.
I think it's just incredible.
Yeah,
days.
I've really loved the community, how it's brought people together to do things, you know, and figure stuff out. And like my favorite pastime in GTA is just taking selfies in the most absurd way possible. Like and going online and then seeing other people do similar things. It's just I've not even completed the game because I've spent so much time just wandering around.
Yeah.
I'm still near the beginning of the game probably.
Yeah, I'm barely anywhere in it, but I've spent hours on it.
I would say the only flaw of the game is the writing is poor.
Yeah.
I would say the mission, you know, the narrative itself. Like, I don't really know in terms of the narrative, I didn't know what the game was actually about. I don't think it was just the cutscenes were men shouting at each other, and I just thought.
But it's really, really entertaining men shouting at each other. Like Trevor's
Trevor's
I'd
awesome.
say it's a
Trevor's a
wider
great
narrative.
character.
Yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
predictable.
Yeah, as in it's a very
It's full of twists, but they're twists that
predictable,
you
yeah.
utterly expect.
yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, like I when I play the game, I lose track of that, and I just want to see what these individual characters are doing. Like, what is he saying now? What is he doing? How is Franklin going to react?
Trevor
to
Phillips,
Trevor's
one of the
bullshit?
best characters of the generation as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's
And it's weird because
his intro isn't very pleasant. Like,
No, there
you're
are
like,
times I just hated him. I
bird.
didn't want to play as him. And
Yeah,
then by the
yeah.
end, he just became quite endearing
yeah,
in his
I just-
insanity.
I just
Because
really,
there'd be times when he'd do like he'd be like a good guy, but he's
Yeah.
just clearly utterly insane, horrible man.
yeah,
the thing is, like, Trevor is the standout character of the game, but I just really, really like Franklin. Like,
I
his,
love
Yeah, I like-
Franklin.
his
and I like
fish out of
Michael.
water, like, personality. Like, most of the time, he's this massive thing unfurls in front of him, and people are shouting at each other, and complex things are happening, and his response is, "Yeah, whatever, dog," and he just walks off. And I find that, mate, I love that. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
I love it when
I
he-
like Mike. Michael's my favourite because
Yeah.
I like that from the start. Like he was kind of reluctant at the start of it. It's interesting to have a GTA hero who doesn't want to go about and wreck the joint.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I didn't mention that again about why no GTA will have a single protagonist again. Is because they nailed all of the. Everyone has. If we just summed up here
Yeah,
independently, we
got
all
few.
like a different character.
Yeah.
And everyone has their own idea of
Yeah.
what they like from GTA,
Yeah.
and
And none of it is
GTA
Nico.
5 delivered all of it.
I
You know,
love
the nutcase who just wants to blow stuff up. You know, the gangbanger, and just the normal guy you can relate to. You know, the suburban father of two. I absolutely loved the experience, all in the different flavours of GTA.
Yeah.
I find it hilarious and utterly fascinating that there's a point where Trevor kidnaps an old lady and then falls in love with her. That was just the funniest thing
and wants
ever
to protect her.
And he's like so angry about giving her back. He's like, don't fuck with her, otherwise I'll kill you. It's just like so funny to see that happen. Yeah. Brilliant game.
Yep.
Number 3, top 3 games. CVG's top 3 games.
I am getting
of the
hot.
generation. This is a big one. Portal 2.
Oh God. Small, you haven't spoken for a while.
I just spoke. I literally just said Portal 2.
Yeah, but you haven't explained why you love a game for a while.
Portal 2
I love
is
Portal 2 so much.
yeah. It's one of those games where I love it so much that it's difficult even to just put it in words. This is a thing that will shock people. I haven't even played the co-op.
Yeah, I know, you're a loser.
This will blow you away.
Right
This will
now,
blow you
like,
away.
exactly. Yeah.
But like,
What the fuck?
I don't know why I haven't played it, but it's just like that original game. That original game, it was like one of those well, as soon as I finished the campaign, I was like, I am compartmentalizing how I feel right now, and I'm putting it in a place in my head, and I'm never touching that again. It's like my happy place. I made it with that game, and I just don't want anything that could potentially tarnish it.
But it's even better.
So
the co-op.
yeah.
That's a
crazy
game. Another game.
hard.
I came really close to getting the platinum trophy on that. It's just so. I played for it at review stage. I reviewed it, and then we played through co-op, and I just enjoyed every single second. And then when it came out, I bought it and I played for it again.
Yeah.
And then I played through I've played through co-op on my own, like, because you can do this with a lot of the levels, just with 2 controllers. Like you put you here and do that, and then put you here and do that. Like, it's totally possible. Because I don't have any friends. Oh man, if you can wrap your head around the single player campaign, which the narrative is one of the best narratives in games, by the way. It's just awesome.
Yeah, it's
You
so
no
well
one
written.
ever would have thought that they could top the first game, which is like one of the greatest games ever made.
Yeah.
But they utterly did. Like, the narrative's incredible. The introductions of the gels. It puts a twist on the you know, obviously the idea behind Portal is actually incredibly simple, but it makes you feel like a genius. And that adds a fresh twist to that. And then when you go into co-op, just the addition of another gun and 2 more portals, just I think people could actually die, have a mental breakdown. That game, because
I'm not sure a puzzle can kill someone.
So infuriatingly complex and yet so simple.
I just still kind of, from a sadistic point of view, I still love that feeling of walking into a puzzle on co-op and going, right, where is the, who is, well...
I'm gonna play that game. I've played for that game like 2-3 times now. I'm gonna play for it again. In fact, I'm gonna play co-op with some more.
Yeah.
You should totally do that. You should live stream it.
I gave that game to one of my mates who hasn't been playing games he stopped playing games a while back, and I gave it to him, and he was like, oh, first person shooter, yeah, cool. So he started playing it, and I watched as his mind slowly imploded while he was playing that game. You know what? I shoot this, and then I go shoot that one, and I go through, and I come out the other side. It was like the most basic thing to us right now. It completely floored him, and then I watched him play a few more levels, and by the end of it, I swear to God, he was like a changed man. He was thinking about his entire existence in a different way.
It's fascinating watching someone figure it out and change. Like my girlfriend played for it as well, and I just watched her play for it. Don't get me wrong, at times I was shouting at the screen. I'm such an impatient man. But that was fascinating as well.
Did any of you get that sort of like Tetroitus thing where after you complete it, you look at buildings and go, I did. If I saw a white wall on a building or something, I go, there you go.
I know. I thought about that game constantly while I was playing it, trying to figure out puzzles and like when I should.
Such an inclusive discussion. Sorry to go on.
Yeah, when I should have been doing other things, I was thinking about that game, but it's just. I don't know, it's just such a brilliant game.
Yeah.
Crackdown's the only game this generation that did that with me. The Tetrasitis.
Yeah, I think
mine's
I
Assassins.
agree with
I started trying to figure out how to scale buildings based on, But
I also think, it's a game where you never shoot a gun. It's a Valve game, a first-person Valve game where you never shoot a gun.
You do really though, don't you?
I mean, as in you
Short
don't
gun.
Loads of times.
you don't kill anyone. Then it doesn't involve any deaths or any. It's like a lot of people say it's like a Pixar.
Sentient killings or.
Well, I mean, a lot of people say it's a Pixar film, like in
Oh
game
yeah,
form.
it is. Yeah, it's
And
a
I
Pixar
totally
game,
appreciate that
yeah.
because I would have no problem. Like, in fact, hasn't Valve licensed this to loads of schools for free?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they can make levels and stuff, can't they?
Oh, that's really awesomely cool. And also, I mean, Steve Merchant's a funny guy,
Yeah.
a really funny guy, and I thought he did a great performance as Wheatley.
Yeah.
Let's not forget it was
People-
really funny.
Oh yeah.
I think it's one of the
Wheatley's such
greatest
a great
pieces of
character.
entertainment of
Yeah.
like the last 20 years.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
people, it's up there with like The Godfather if you've not played Portal 2.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
it's-
Wheatley's such an amazing character, like funniest power trip in history.
yeah.
This tiny little module of AI just goes completely insane with power.
Don't you love it when you go through? Obviously, you fall through like
It's my favourite
into
section
the
of the
base,
game. Yeah.
into the basement, and you go back up, and you're going up through the decades, basically.
He's like fucked it up.
Yeah, but you come back. Yeah, so you finally come back up to the surface, and he gives you the first puzzle, which is you have to shoot
yeah.
a wall, and he's like, "Damn, you foiled me!" And it was just like, it just made me laugh.
There's an achievement. There's a brilliant achievement for smashing all of these view screens.
Yeah, yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Like, and you do it the first time, and he's like, "Oh, silly! Like, it's not really me. It's just a screen. It's silly, like human." And then, like, you do that a couple of times more, and he's like, "Oh no, carry on. I've got loads of these. Don't matter." Like, they become increasingly complex in how you smash the
Of
screen.
course, yeah.
Like,
yeah, of course.
and then by like as you approach like breaking like 10 of them, he's like, "No, seriously though. I've these are expensive." And you like,
And there's the whole thing with transferring GLaDOS into a potato at
Yeah,
one
of
point,
course,
which
yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Bringing her back was cool as well. seeing
And
her
also,
again.
it had that wow moment when spoilers
yeah, at the end.
when you see the moon and you hit it, and my God, you're in space.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a famous line actually about being in space. Actually, those personality
"Is it
orbs.
spade?"
Yeah,
Space,
Those-
space.
the
Who's the guy who did those?
It's
the
Nolan North,
personality
isn't it?
courses?
There's no
Is he
North,
Nolan North?
Yeah, he's
No
Nolan North, the
Did all
personality
different
code.
ones.
Yeah. I love that the constant like chattering from the AI's personality cores in space.
Yeah, just
Come to
so-
space. Gonna be space. So funny.
That's all he wants.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Isn't it utterly infuriating that Tamor's not played co-op? Like,
It
he's
is
like
so
talking about how
infuriating,
much he loves half the game he's played.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll go back to it.
Just what a magnificent achievement. I remember I interviewed Gabe and I said, "What's your favourite Valve game?" And they were still developing Portal 2, and he said, "Honestly, Portal 2 is my favourite Valve game." And I was like, in my head, I was like, "That's total bullshit, Gabe. Like, nothing's better
what are
than
you
Half-Life
on
2."
about, Gabe?
But man, it's so good.
I think it is the best Valve game.
I couldn't.
I think
I'm
it
hurting
is-
inside.
do you know, I think it's a lot better than Half-Life 2.
I don't think anything.
I
It's better than Half-Life
I
2.
love Half-Life 2. It's a great game. I wouldn't play through it like
Again,
a couple
yeah.
more times.
Wow. I played Half-Life 2 more than
I think
30
I'll
times.
still
so.
play Portal 2 in like 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely still. I mean, it's just an incredible.
That bit at the ending where you boss battle and you have to move all the personality cores around and stuff. And
Yeah.
each one's different. There's like
It's
an
so
action
funny.
hero
The
one.
action hero one
Yeah.
is, "Hey,
Action hero,
had a lady."
Yeah, he's trying to flirt with her, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's so good. So number 3 in our game of generation was Portal 2. Number 2,
Jesus.
second best game of the
Jesus.
entire
Should
generation.
we have a drum roll or something, or
I think
because if we know number 2, we'll probably know what number 1 is, right?
number 2 is Uncharted 2, Among Thieves.
Wow. Wow, I did not expect that.
Yep.
I just did not expect that.
DJ Hero.
So everyone, despite my rant earlier about how I could never go back after
Yeah.
Last of Us, clearly everyone disagrees.
I think a lot of people they remember this game in the context of that time and that place. Like when
Yeah.
they think about it, it's just like there's no like in retrospect this is because of this now we've had this and this. No, they remember it. They put themselves back when they played it, when they were recalling how they feel about this game.
Mhm.
And when you do that, it's just such an incredible game.
Do you know, let's read out Dan Dawkins' blurb, which as ever is pretty sharp.
Eloquent.
It says, "Warm, funny, technically astonishing. This was the paving block for a new type of third-person adventure with its seamless integration of cutscenes, linearity, and explosive set pieces. The 2009 E3 demo of the Nepal level is arguably the most breathtaking 5 minutes of the generation in terms of resetting your expectations of what consoles could achieve.
So he prefers it to GTA 5 then?
He does.
Uncharted 2 o'clock.
Actually, no, this was 10th in his vote.
Oh, right, fair enough.
What's going on in that guy's
Crazy old
brain?
Dawkins.
But yeah, that game, I've said it before in this podcast, but the shadow puppet moment in the beginning of the game, where he's reenacting the thing, the betrayal, that just won my heart. From there, it was just it carried on getting better and better and better, and it's like loving that character. Like you just utterly fall in love with that character. Like he's such a rogue, and he's so loved. It's Indiana Jones again. It's like that moment where you know build this love for that character. It's just exactly the same. He's gaming's Indiana Jones. It's just love him.
They were when that game came out, they were so far ahead of every other game developer in terms of polish and presentation and animation.
They were saying this is where we need to be.
It felt like a movie. It felt like a real
interactive
everything
movie.
was just flawless in terms of the presentation, what you could see.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there were amazing moments in it, like the Tenzin. Is it Tenzin?
Yeah, Tenzin.
That scene where you are telling him what to do, but you're talking to each other and helping each other, but you don't know each other's language.
Yeah.
That shows a remarkable level of confidence. Imagine pitching that in the design to the design team. Right, I've got this idea. This guy doesn't understand your language. You don't understand his language, but you're going to help each other out in a cave. Otherwise, you're going to die. You know, and it's like. And in fact, when you leave the cave, suddenly because you meet Tenzin at a tribe, don't you? Sort of like a
you're in the secluded village where there's like little kids in the Himalayas, isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, and Tenzin's got a daughter that it's a really young daughter.
There's a bunch of kids there, and you play football with them if you want.
That's right. Yeah. But when you finally leave the cave, that beautiful cave, you see that army going towards the village, and your mood instantly drops to like, oh my god. What the fuck are they doing? And like, that is what a movie does, you know. You go from amazing moment to straight in to another amazing moment.
And you like it. We've likened it to a movie, and honestly, that is the only game in which I've been basically had a crowd of people sitting down to watch it as a movie. Like, so I started playing it, and my family sat down. Like, there was just in the room.
It's a spectacle.
Yeah, and they sat down, watched it, and when I stopped playing it, they forbid me from starting again, and until they were there, all of them, it's like 10 people or something like that, and they watched it while eating food and everything like that. And it's weird that like you'd think that wouldn't work when in a game, because you die and then you have to repeat a certain area, but it was just so well crafted that I never died at a single point. There was never like a point where I came up against a wall and I'm like, where do I go now? How do I solve this puzzle? It was just like one seamless, flawless movie performance from start to finish.
Yeah. Funny as well. I remember that helicopter, and there's one moment where he's talking about how he can stop this helicopter. He's like, how the hell can I stop this? Hello. And he sees this like amazing machine gun. It's just so funny. Again, like so many of these games that we've mentioned in this top 10 have been written really well and have more and more of those movie qualities, which I think in itself is interesting.
I think a lot of people forget, and they don't give Naughty Dog enough credit for, I think it is Uncharted 2, the multiplayer, where they introduced that. Everyone said it couldn't be done, they shouldn't do it, it's not going to work. And that multiplayer was really, really, really good. It introduced verticality, and made the gameplay, like the traversal, and the kind of weird movement style that it has, the stumbly movement. Yeah. And they made it work with shooting, and it was so much fun to play online.
And it's interesting because the battle system really is Gears of War, isn't it? That cover.
Well, they showed that there was a different way to do a cover shooter. It didn't have to be next room, more cover, next room, more cover. You could mix it up with cinematic platforming and set pieces, right? Right. And then every game subsequent after that, you say it's Uncharted-esque,
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, they kind of put that spin on it.
So second best game of this generation, Uncharted 2. Congrats to Naughty Dog. Number 1.
Yes.
Street Fighter 4.
Number 1 is DJ Hero. The best game, CVG's.
Should we do a little drum roll?
Best game.
We all know what this is.
Of the entire generation.
We all voted for it.
is Super Mario Galaxy.
Yes.
Rightly so.
I think absolutely everyone voted for this game. It won by like 20 points or something.
Wow.
There was at no point from collating the first person's votes all the way to the last person. At no point was it not in first.
No.
Oh well.
It's just
Everyone
perfect.
it's
perfect.
you know, I love Super Mario 3D World. We gave it a 10 on the site.
Yeah.
That's not as good as Mario Galaxy.
No.
And a lot of it has to do with it was so genius in moving things forward, which is now it's reversed a bit for accessibility. Like it just utterly erased the problem of a camera in 3D space by making you play on a series of spheres where you don't have to spin the camera around. There are no walls and no corners.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful... I don't want to play another Mario game that's not in space. Like, screw the Mushroom Kingdom and all of your deserts and shit. You just do some desert planets. I don't want to play anywhere. The best bit of Mario 3D World, mild spoiler, is when you go to the galaxy level at the end. It's just the best by far.
Yeah,
the
as soon as I
music's
saw that, I was like,
incredible.
oh, thank God.
All of the characters are all the star bits and the little star dudes, and it's just brilliant. That game makes me smile. Like from start to finish.
It's the only game this generation that put tears in my eyes, like, and not because it was sad, but because it was so like amazing. It's like because I moved to London when I was like 23 to work with Official Nintendo magazine, and that was like because I was being quite young and thinking, I'm leaving Glasgow and leaving family and friends behind and all that. And it was like when you're that young, you're going through that kind of experience as well. Where you're thinking, I'm not a child anymore. I need to be an adult now. And you're worried. And it's like it's a worrying time to be. And I went to Nintendo to play Galaxy because Japan had just sent the code over, the finished code, so I had to go to the headquarters to play it, and sitting in a locked room, like playing constantly for like 3 days, solid playing through Galaxy. And it was just like I was 8 again.
Wow.
It was just, I'm
welling
up even talking about it again.
Chris is actually getting emotion talking
There's
about
actual tears here.
No,
which I think is fucking awesome.
That is pretty
the
good.
fact that someone loves the game so much, they're getting emotion right in front of us.
It was so good. They actually managed to do it. For years and years and
Yeah.
years through the GameCube era. I've always been a Nintendo fan. I've always imported all the systems and stuff.
Yeah.
You always thought that N64 was going to be the pinnacle.
That's
they were
absolutely
never
right.
going to top those installments,
Do you know what?
those series
That's
best.
absolutely right.
And
we can't even
Galaxy
remember.
just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
It's a game it's embarrassing how much imagination and creativity they've managed to squeeze into a single game. And then just to embarrass the rest of the industry further, they just pump out a sequel that's equally imaginative and creative, like all the way through. And then World as well now, which is the same. It's like we've got so many fucking ideas, like we can make 4 sequels out of this game.
I'll be completely honest.
What a game.
Right, after Mario 64, I was like, for years I thought they'll never, ever.
Yeah, I thought the same.
Especially with Mario Sunshine. And if you remember, before the release of Mario Galaxy, before it was revealed, no one ever had that ambition that Mario could ever achieve. How could he? How could he ever achieve?
It was really simple as well that Miyamoto always used to say through the 80s, and obviously they made Super Mario World, said, I always had this dream, this vision of Mario riding on the back of a dinosaur, just fun and adventure. So we made a game about it. It's exactly the same thing. I always thought it'd be cool if Mario was in space.
Absolutely.
What's better than space?
Yeah, well,
where are they going to go next?
What I thought it really was in fact, because of the massive shadow of Mario 64, I still think Mario 64 is the greatest game ever built, ever. But that massive shadow was it's like a curse. And I suppose what Mario Galaxy did was in fact just celebrate what Mario actually
absolutely
is.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what it does. It
celebration.
celebrates Mario.
It
feels like a just one big celebration of Mario.
It feels like the party,
like from the orchestrated soundtrack, down to all of the characters and all of the power ups and all of the starting off a level and exploding, dancing through the stars as you dive down to your level and land with like a stylish plot.
Even just the tiny touches in there that are so unnecessary, but there's a full like children's storybook in there,
Yeah.
which is more amazing
Yeah,
than any
just need
other.
in there, yeah.
Mm.
Just tucked away in there. It's here you go. Here's another.
Yeah.
If you stop crying, we'll fucking start crying again because it's like the saddest children's book you'll ever read. This is unbelievable.
My love of gaming was born in Mario. Like when I went to my cousin's house, and the first time ever, like it was one of the first games I set eyes upon was this Mario game, and instantly that was the moment I became obsessed with video games. Like absolutely obsessed. I went home. I did not want to leave my cousin's house. I cried. I remember cried because I didn't want to leave. And my parents were like, "We're going home now." And I was absolutely in tears. I wanted to stay there and play Mario. Went home, spent ages just thinking about Mario, wanting to go back. It was a full week until I got back. But parents wouldn't buy me a Nintendo console or any console. It cost too much. But I was obsessed with it. And from then on, I've loved games because of that game. And over time, you get used to it, and now I don't think about loving games as something special, it's just who I am or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I played Mario Galaxy, there's the bit where Mario jumps out and he's running up the path and he puts his arms out and he does the airplane.
Yeah.
That instantly reminded me, like recaptured that feeling of like falling in love with games.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, that entire game, playing it, I just, like Chris said, felt like a kid again. And it was just... Like, I cherish that game.
Mario is the reason most of us are doing this job.
Yeah.
Essentially, and Galaxy just reminded us of
Mario's the reason most people like games.
Yeah.
I think everyone has a story like Tamoor's.
Yeah.
And it was also significant in that at a time when the Wii U was, from the moment the Wii was unveiled to coming out in its first year, that all those core Nintendo fans thought, what's happened? I mean, we're saying we never thought they would top Mario 64. Through the GameCube age, they attempted to top all these franchises.
Yeah.
You really say only perhaps even Metroid Prime was like a series best. I'd say maybe F-Zero, but that's controversial.
That is controversial.
And then you come to, through that kind of feeling of uncertainty, you come to the Wii. Oh, it's a game for, your family who don't play games.
Yeah.
Here's Wii Sports and here's Wii Play. And
then boom.
And then, maybe Nintendo's not for us. Like, it's not been for us for 10 years maybe. And then this game comes around, the best core Nintendo game for 15 years.
Yeah.
And
I would say it's
blows
also
away.
a flawless game. There's nothing, not one thing annoying.
Everything, even
I
just
think
I
even
remember
the waggle's not annoying.
no,
Waggle's
and
not
I even just I remember me and Mike Jackson were being extremely nerdy one day and we're thinking, there's no fucking load times in this game. How is that? And because even when you go from the hub, then you go into the section where you choose from like 5 different galaxies, then you choose a galaxy and you choose a star, and everything's just seamless. When you choose a star, it goes zoom, and he zooms, like there's a camera move where he zooms into the screen, and the moment that happens, the level loads, and it's like as quick as that. So we're like holding the Wii, like Mike's got his ear right up to the Wii, listening for the disc accessing. So as soon as you go into like the hub, you leave the hub and go into that room with the 5 galaxies, the disc starts loading. So it starts preloading the first parts of those 5, all 5 of those galaxies. It starts preloading them to see which one you're choosing, and then when you choose a galaxy, it goes again. So it starts loading like the possible stars that you could be going for on that one galaxy. So that by the time you've then chosen the star, it's already halfway finished loading the thing.
Yeah,
Which is
I mean,
absolutely
seamless.
everything about it.
It's just whenever without fail, it makes me happy. Whenever I turn it on, if ever I need a pick me up or so, if there's anything happening in my life, I know I can turn that game on and for as long as I'm playing that game, everything fades away. I'm happy.
And it was the first game, one of the few games still throughout the Wii's life that proved that it was more powerful, if not more, a lot more powerful, slightly more powerful than the generation before it, because that was always the joke, that it was just 2 GameCubes duct taped together and everything.
Yeah.
And Galaxy was the first game that showed, look, this console is capable of doing some pretty impressive things. Because it looked better than most. It wasn't in HD, but that aside, it looked better than most 360 games at the time, I would say, because of the level design, the characters were charming, full 60 frames a second. It was amazing
I
looking.
can't believe we haven't mentioned the marvelous orchestral score.
That's just
What an achievement that was as well.
I remember reading an article, I can't remember where it was, where there was like actual musical theory people had gone into in the creation of Gusty Garden, the track for that, and it's actually apparently designed in a scientific way to draw emotions from humans. Like it appeals to us on a fundamental
I
level.
think that
Yeah.
all music does though.
As in, like,
But
this
this
is like,
is- yeah.
there's a
Don't mean the
formula.
composition.
Yeah, there's a formula to it, which is actually laid out in this article. And anytime
Interesting.
you
Really
can't, there's a certain point, like it pinpoints the exact moment in the song that by the second, as soon as this second hits, people will smile. And it's just
Wow.
amazing to read that.
Yeah. I think one thing for me that defines Mario Galaxy is that every single platform game before Mario Galaxy, when you have ice, it's a challenge. And it's actually quite a frustrating one. You go on a platform, oh, you're slipping a bit to the right, so you have to run left. And oh my God, now you're slipping a bit to the left, so you have to run to the right. It's a challenge. It's an obstruction. Mario Galaxy said, here's some ice skates. Go have as much fun as humanly possible. And of course, you were just sliding along this thing and jumping around. And I guess that's what defined, and you could even do spins in the air. And I guess that's what defined Mario Galaxy for me. It looked at every single thing, and went, how can we make this as fun as we can?
Yeah. I mean, what we were saying earlier about Tomb Raider getting a definitive edition, if they did an HD version of Galaxy 1 and 2 on Wii U, other than the obvious trolls, I don't think there's a single gamer alive who wouldn't want to play that, who'd play through that game again.
They should play it because it's our
Yeah, but certainly, I mean, imagine
GOTG.
an HD version of that getting the Wind Waker treatment.
I'd lose my shit.
That would be
Yeah,
incredible.
I'd-
That would
I'd-
make
I'd
up for
start
not having another Mario
self-writing.
game for years. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
So Super Mario Galaxy is
Nintendo
is CVG's
does it again.
Yep.
game of the generation, the best game released this entire generation.
Just to say, I think Naughty Dog did a fantastic job, didn't they? Get
Every
2 out of the
game
top
on
5?
this list, incredible job, because there were
Yes.
a lot
You know,
of
as I
games.
said at the beginning of this top 20 breakdown, I think we did an amazing job of running. I think every game in the top 20, I'd want to go back and play again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great, super strong list, and yeah, well done to everyone on it.
Yep.
But yeah, there we go, one winner, Super Mario Galaxy, best game of this generation.
Rightly so.
And
New generation now.
yeah,
Another 7 years. So we'll do our next podcast in about 7 years' time.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
yeah, that's it. That's Generation Podcast. But yeah, that'll bring. That's
By then I would have got over Journey, I think.
yeah, I guess
think
so.
I would think so.
Yeah, that brings the Game of the Generation proceedings to a close. We hope you've enjoyed listening to the podcast over the last, how many episodes is it? Like 4 or 5,
that
something
was
like that.
5.
I've lost track of it. We've been in this room for so long.
I need a shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, also worth pointing out, we now also have a weekly podcast. So if you
Yeah.
enjoyed this and would like to hear us talking about more recent things.
Mine
rather
is
than-
Rob Crossley.
Yeah,
It doesn't include
obviously.
me, which
Yeah.
I imagine is a relief.
So
and we opened the door for you. We said, "Do you want to
yeah,
come?" And you're
he
like,
keeps
"Nah,
closing
it's
it.
fine."
He keeps closing it in our faces.
That's
Yeah.
not. Come on, let's not take.
Takes the handle out of our hands and he slams it. But yeah,
It's
so
not- it's
you can
not quite
subscribe
true.
to that podcast on iTunes. It's called CVG Off the Record.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter at CVG_news.
Yeah, massive thank you again.
Thank you for listening
Yeah.
and have a good Christmas.
Yeah.
Adios,
Bye.
hombres.
Mhm.